You want some air? You a little hot? Okay.
What makes you like that food?
No, you know, I always.
As long as you don't feel the cold. I'm gonna sit down in this heat.
Yeah, sit by the heat.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll put it on low.
Yeah, low.
Let me know. Alright? All right, round back, some more tat. Let us know if the audio is clear. I'm gonna play music for a quick second. All right, and just let us know if we can be heard. All right, and let's get it set up. That looks good right there. Just gonna put a little music in the sound check for those watching.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll probably just stay to 6 or that.
Alright, I will stay. It's gonna be dark, it's gonna be low.
Yeah.
Make breezy. Turn that down some.
You can turn it off.
Turn it off now, you good? Alright. We have to put our coat on, right? I'm glad you good.
I'm good now.
Okay, alright, let me turn that off. Should stop it. Again, round back, everyone in the room, just let us know if you can hear us clearly. We'll be starting shortly. Is it me or is it you? All right. Alright. And I saw that, I don't know how old the class is, but me and you, it was one of the ones where OSM was actually able to put it on. Because I was scrolling for something else on YouTube and I saw us standing, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Alright, so hopefully they figured it out. But he's supposed to give me some information, like maybe we can get like digital camera or something like that. But if we get a digital camera, I don't know if we can link to Facebook or we just gotta go and get a YouTube page or something.
Or you probably have to have a digital.
Yeah.
And while that's on,
Just
so they can have a raw footage of the digital. That's just one.
That's just one way, right? For us, right? Because we gotta go back. Well, we'll give it a try. We'll figure something out. All right, good. All right, Wu-Sabat, I see we saw coming in the room. We will be getting started shortly. If y'all could just say Tua or Na'ut or yes or no if we're clear. I'm going to turn the volume up all the way. It sounds clear? Okay, good. Good. All right, we'll be starting in a minute, y'all. Appreciate it. Get them questions ready. I like that song. That's a good birthday song.
I like that.
You like what?
I like what
This?
they say.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, Wu-Sabat. Yeah, this is the this is called was a guy named Amri, A-M-R-I. He has a whole album.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like this song that's playing is called Flutes and Drums. But we got Journey of the Pyramids, Desert Mirages, Call of the Oasis, like a whole album. So yeah, it's probably like an hour worth of good music you can listen to. All right, appreciate y'all. Thank you. Taukum, actually. Wu-Sabat. All back.
Peace. Shalom. Assalamualaikum.
That's right. Cover it all. That's right.
My name is Khafre. I'm a student teacher of the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. And I'm proud to be here today in this most profound culture. And I'm going to start off my class with the pledge of Sabian. Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat. I pledge allegiance to Wu-Sabat. Shalal Patahuda Musbat Shabat of the United Sabian Tribe. Wahu Musa Tahet Musbat Wu Masa. One family under Sirius and Orion. Karer Sahu Rakuk Sahu Akum Sahu Fakum. With correct right knowledge, knowing right wisdom, and right understanding. Lahek Halel Sahu Tahum. Karer Jamud Sahu Nakush. For all right overstanding with sound, solid, right reasoning. Do we have any questions? Nope, so let's just
Slap a high five and be gone. All right, nothing online yet.
let me just read this.
Okay.
So just for the people who never saw our class before, I wrote something. So it says, welcome everyone that's in class and people that's online. Today we begin a journey into the foundation of a disciplined and elevated mind, right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, the triad that leads to sound right reasoning. In a world overflowing with information, but starving for truth, it is not enough to simply know. Right knowledge demands that we seek what is accurate, meaningful, and rooted in reality, rather than assumptions or illusions. It is the gathering of facts, principles, and experiences that reflect the world as it is, truly is. But knowledge alone is not mastery. When knowledge is applied, tested, and lived, it becomes right knowledge. Wisdom is the ability to discern the deeper patterns beneath the surface, knowing when, how, and why to use what we have learned. It is the transformation of information into insight. And when wisdom expands into a full intuitive grasp of life, we arrive at right understanding. Understanding is the elevated perspective, the ability to stand alone. The ability to stand above confusion and contradiction, to seek with clarity and to interpret the world without distortion. It is a state where insight becomes inner vision. Together, right knowledge, right wisdom, and a right understanding forms the foundation for sound right reasoning, the disciplined mental process that allows us to think clearly, choose responsibly, and act with purpose. Sound reasoning is not just logic, it is the mind in alignment with truth. In this class, we will learn not only to think, but to think well. Not only to understand, but to overstand. By the end of this journey, you will possess a tool that strengthens your intellect, elevates your awareness, and empowers you to encourage the world with clarity, confidence, and integrity. Any questions?
That was right knowledge in itself, the explanation alone.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good interlude. Could you explain the basic principles of math Kuzet?
No. Okay. Mafkazet, that's our word in our language, right?
Sure.
And in English, it means exotic matter. So this exotic matter, at one time, it was already in our body, flowing through our blood.
Right.
You understand? And another form of it, another way you could call it is liquid gold, right?
Sure.
The ancient masters used to use it for certain things. One particularly is to travel. Not time travel, but travel in time. Now I say not time travel because time does not travel. Mm-hmm. Even though people use that term loosely, right? Mm-hmm. So what they knew is this. Modern scientists know that you can travel in the future. Right? They know this. So modern physicists will tell you, traveling into the future is possible. Mm-hmm. They'll let you know stuff about if you're close to a black hole, time will go faster for you because that black hole is sucking in things so rapidly. So you could be moving fast, right? And if the person that's moving fast, time for them is moving slower, opposed to the person that's on the ground that's watching them, right? So they understand that. Now the problem is when you start saying, can you travel back in time, that becomes a problem because most people don't know how to travel back in time, not even theoretical physicists, but based on mathematical calculations and what they would term as exotic matter as well, right? We know that by using exotic matter, you could learn how to travel in time in the reverse. The way to do it, the ancient masters used to do it by utilizing mafkuzet, right? And how they did it was, like I said, time cannot travel. So you can't logically say, I'm time traveling, but you can travel in time. Now, how did this work? Since you could travel in time, the whole concept of time is linked to what they call space. And since it's linked to space, modern scientists calls it what? Space-time, right? So that's telling you that there's a fabric out there, right? That's time and space is the same thing. And we have to also realize that time, space, and is one more aspect. Time, space, and matter, right? Space, matter, and time.
Right.
It's all interconnected, and you can't have one without the other.
Right.
For instance, if I told you to meet me at Barnes & Noble, right? Can you meet me there is the question. I say, hey, meet me at Barnes & Noble. Can you meet me there with just that amount of information? No, you can't. Because you have to say which Barnes & Noble. Where is this Barnes & Noble, right? You can say, I can tell you to meet me there, but now what happened is I have to give you a specific location, and I also have to give you what? The time I'm going to be there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you are the matter that's going to be there. So the matter is you, right? And the time and the place has to be in sync in order to meet someone at a particular location. So, in traveling in time, what scientists learned, what our ancient masters used to do is that they knew how to bend time, bend space-time. And in bending space-time, they're no longer moving the ship itself, but they're moving the space around the ship. That's why you'll hear in one of our bills that the ship, right, that was utilized with the utilization of mafkuzet was what? The velocity was what? Zero velocity.
Yeah.
Because even though the ship was moving, it's not accelerating. It's staying on a constant path. Because the ancient masters was not affecting the ship. It was affecting the things around the ship. Which what? Space-time. Because when we look at space-time, we have to understand that in space, space is made up of matter. You understand?
True.
And that matter is what they're calling space. But people think space is what? Invisible.
Yeah.
But it's not. Space is a fabric. And that's why most physicists will show you space and give you a grid. And they're showing you a grid because they know that it's still made up of something even though you can't see it. So our ancient masters knew how to manipulate space-time in order to travel forward in time and backward in time. So mafkuzet was that thing used for it. And in our body, like I said, naturally, it was what we call the liquid gold. And it was produced from what's just called the Barabary gland.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And originally we had this flowing through our blood, this liquid gold through our blood. If you ever watched the movie Gods of Egypt, y'all saw that?
Mm-hmm.
In the introduction, they tell you that these Egyptian gods, the real gods, their blood is similar to gold.
Yeah.
And where do you think they got that from?
Us.
Yes.
Even though the whole cast was white people except for Tahuti.
Right. Right.
Because that brother, Black Panther, the brother, he was in that movie.
Chadwick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chadwick.
Mm-hmm.
Peace be unto him.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying it was in the blood?
It was in the blood. Right now, it's not in our blood right now. Because if it was, you'd be able to do some miraculous things with that, right? However, the whole concept is to get us to the point so we can have these things. Meaning, one of the purposes of trying to raise people up on the planet Earth is to what? Search for the children of the Padnetu.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Now, when you search for those children of Padnetu, there is a reward for those beings. You understand? The ones that's actually on the straight and narrow. The ones that's actually trying to elevate themselves. The one that's actually trying to be a part of the culture and become the culture. Right? It is something for them at the end. Right? And one of those things is to gain back your higher senses. And one way is what? The reinserting of what? The Barabary gland.
Sure.
Right? So, for some of you, it's going to be reinserted. And then for others, it could be developed. Because it's already in you in an etheric state. Because if something was already in you originally, right? And they took a portion of it out, right? We know, according to our doctrine, a portion of it is where? Still close to your cerebellum.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not activated, but that's the very concept that make you have intuition. They make you feel like I shouldn't do certain things. You know what I'm saying? But it's not heightened enough. And the reason it's not heightened enough because we don't learn how to, how should I put it? Exercise the things necessary to make it manifest.
Right.
For instance,
Right.
you read the mind book that the master teacher put out. In the mind book, at different intervals of that mind book, he tells you, if you learn concentration, you'll learn how to send thoughts to a person millions of miles away. All you have to do is learn how to concentrate.
Right.
Now, average person don't know how to concentrate. So the concept of telepathy that used to be working with the barotheric gland to give you your higher senses is not kicked in right now. But we have inclinations of it, you know what I'm saying? What we call feelings. I feel like this person that did this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes your feelings is close,
Right.
but it's not 100% accurate. So you can't go on just a feeling and say it's a fact. When you had your barotheric gland and it was activated, your intuition, your clairvoyance was on point. You didn't have to guess or feel like this person doesn't like you. You knew, right? You heard their thoughts. They couldn't hide. When a person has their higher senses, there's no more secrets to them. And this is why people can say when they encounter the master teacher, those who have the experience, they would say, Bob will come up and say, hey, stop thinking like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know they was thinking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's telling them, stop thinking like because he have his higher senses. You understand? So it will come a day and time again when we will have those higher senses if we learn to develop it while we're here, or you wait till the end to get that reward.
So did we deactivate it, or did we lose it from being under the spell?
We lost it because of mixtures.
Because of mixture.
Yeah, because of mixtures. Because understand this. When it comes to the story of who and what we are, Bible, he often tells us that. He said, you guys are more East Indian than you like to admit. Why would he say that? Because you're tied into the Adamite, but not the white Adamite, the caveman Codman Adamite. You know what I'm saying? That's the black Adamites, right? We're tied into their genealogy for that experiment that happened years ago. And since we're tied into that genealogy, right, we lost certain things that was taken from them because we're a part of that bloodline as well. You know what I'm saying? So when you learned about the whole barotheric gland getting taken, who did you learn that it got taken from? It was Nakabe and Codman's children, right?
Sure.
But are some of us some of their children as well? Wasn't Nakabe a Sans? No, wasn't Nakabe a Sans person?
Mm-hmm. True.
And wasn't Codman a Dravidian?
Mm-hmm.
And did they not mix with each other and produce children that was what? Black people that could look Asiatic, right? And with all different type of features. So what happened is, from that 49,000 year time span, that time, some of us are tied into that genealogy. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta say, that has to be the reason why you don't look like a Sans person today. Right? Because you can say, yo, the original people is the Sans. You don't look co-San. The Sans people look totally different from us. Right? So, you don't look like them because you're a mixed seed. You're a Nubian. And being a mixed seed, you lost your barotheric gland. Or it was taken from certain people. And when it was taken from certain people, over time, the children or the offspring stopped producing it. But they couldn't took it out completely because it would have destroyed certain nerves in your brain.
Right.
So it's a gland that only we talk about. Now somebody online who probably studied neurology, they go, barotheric gland, what is he talking about? This is something beyond your neurology courses. This is our ancient science, where we understood our body. And we had certain organs in this body that others didn't have. And the barotheric gland was one of them. And certain organs that they teach us today that we don't need, like the tonsils and appendix, used to work with your barotheric gland. That's why you don't need them today. Because the organ that works with it is not there. Right?
That's right.
So this is more ancient science than what they're teaching today. And this type of information is only for people who are ready and prepared to learn from self and kind, and not trying to always reference what the white man is saying. No offense to them, But we have our own doctrine, we have our own teaching, we have our own science, we have our own culture. And in our own culture, we have our own records of what our ancestors taught us on a scientific level, on a cosmological level, on a spiritual level, and many other levels. So we can't accept everything that they say and try to pull it over into our culture. In our culture, we had an organ that's in our brain called the barotheric gland. And that's the gland that produced the makuzat.
So when they take out our tonsils, they're not doing it maliciously. I mean, of course they are, but they're not thinking about that link.
No. They're not thinking about the link. They're just thinking about its uselessness, and sometimes people's tonsils inflame. Right. So in order to help the person, they just take it out. They don't have no science on why they take it out. It's only because something happens to it that they take it out. This is something that's way beyond. Remember, their information, their science is what, 6,000 years. Yeah. Our science goes trillions of years, right? Predates them by far.
Forever.
And we used to connect what they're called, we connect spirituality with our physical science. They don't do that. They will look at spirituality like, no, spirituality has nothing to do with science.
Right.
We have a spiritual science, totally different from what they teach. You understand? So.
All right, we have a couple of questions online. Do you have a question, Cal?
No.
Okay. So this is from Al-Zamal Patah, Amun Akar Rayay, Rayay. This question is, for one to be a gatekeeper, does one have to like or be with the same sex?
Nah, not at all. That comes from a misconception of when people teach the gatekeeper concept, they're always relating it to homosexuals. A true gatekeeper is not a homosexual. So we got to get that out of our mind. We have to cleanse our culture with impurity teachings. Gatekeepers are not homosexuals. Let's get that clear, right? But can they be one? Probably. Who knows? But it's not a thing to say a gatekeeper is a homosexual.
What do you call a gatekeeper?
A gatekeeper in our culture is called a muknashtu or muknashtak. And these are beings who vibrate double resonance frequencies, and they are a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper is a person who guards gateways.
Right.
That's portals to other dimensions. You can't tell me that you gotta be a homosexual to guard a portal. That's not fact. That don't make no sense. That person vibrates on two frequencies. You know what I'm saying? Double frequency.
Right.
In religion, they used to say double portion of the spirit. And because they vibrate on double portion of the spirit, those people was appointed the gatekeepers to open the way. And that's about it. There's no deep, there's none of that type of stuff that some people may teach. And some other people in other cultures may have books on gatekeepers and talk about the homosexuality concept, but that has nothing to do with our culture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a hermaphrodite. That's it. Or hermaphrodite.
All right. From our same Zamal, another question. If someone heard a voice 3 times from a ship, does that mean that person has a chip in them implanted by the ETs or extraterrestrials?
I can't answer that question logically because I wouldn't know. You know, I wouldn't know because a lot of people hear things, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't know.
Right.
So it wouldn't be practical for me to give an answer to that question.
All right. Next question from our Zamal Sun Ra. I keep hearing ringtones. What is happening?
Well, what happened now, Joe? So what happens is this, once again. I'm going to tell you what Baba told us a long time ago. He said, I don't know if this is happening for you, but I'm telling you what he taught us about ringing in the air.
Right.
He taught us that sometimes your ancestors are trying to tune in on you, right? And as they're trying to tune in on you, you may hear those ringing sounds in the air. It's like trying to turn the radio station to the proper station. But for the human, they're hearing it as a beeping sound or something of that nature, right? Or a ringing sound. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's probably tinnitus. But that's the only thing. But in our culture, that could be it. But I can't be the one to stand here and say that's exactly what it is for you.
All right. We have another question from our Zamal Tat. Nafar Tweet, Akosa. Rayay Khafre. Does matriarch mean that the woman rule over men, and I'm referring to the concept of a matriarchal society.
No. If you go to the Lotus of Life, right? In the Lotus of Life, it talks about what matriarchal means to us. Many people have a misconception of what a matriarchal to us as Sabians. I know we have a lot of male, and females in the culture that push matriarchal as if it's just a woman rulership thing. But that's not what it is. Patriarchal is only male rulership, but matriarchal is deities, male and female, ruling. That's and who are over them is the clan mothers.
Right.
That's a matriarchal for Sabians. You know what I'm saying? That means you could be a ruler, you could be a deity as a ruler, whether you're a female or a male. But there's still another council called the clan mothers that's over you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If you ever watch certain movies, like let's say, I just saw this the other day, Aquaman. You ever saw that movie?
Yeah.
So in Aquaman, even though he was the king, there was still a council he has to go to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So in our culture, even though you could be a male ruler or a female ruler, male ruler or female ruler, there was still the council called the clan mothers that you still had to go to. But you were still the ruler.
Right.
You're the man and you're ruling,
Mm-hmm.
but you still had that clan mothers over you. Of course, we don't have a thing in our culture today where, I'm going to say this, we have to get to a point in our culture where we actually are living it and actually expressing it for real. And I say that because we do a lot of injustice when we don't become upright people. When you don't become upright people, we can't live our culture to the fullest.
Right.
But we can have clan mothers for real. Because in order to be a clan mother or even a 24 elder,
Yep.
you have to be a certain type of character.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be a deity. And I'm not talking about a person that just put a crown on and act like a deity. I'm talking about for real. If you was a council of the 24 elders, right? There's certain things that happen in the tribe that only the 24 elders should know. Like for instance, you know how people get into relationship problems in everyday life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes people could be going through a situation in their household, which is, let's say, leading to breakup, right? Now, in our culture, do we go and talk to our girlfriends or our homeboys about that situation?
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, in our culture.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes.
No, I'm asking, in our culture,
Or
should we do that?
Should we? No.
No. According to our laws,
Yep.
we're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to handle your own situation alone. The only time you tell somebody about your situation between your husband and your wife is if it becomes detrimental in the sense of abuse,
Right.
physical abuse.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if you have situations between men and women in our culture, it was supposed to be you're supposed to be took into the 24 elders if you couldn't resolve it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And those 24 elders were supposed to be responsible elders to keep their damn mouth shut. You heard what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Keep their mouth shut. Meaning, nothing leaves that council of 24.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you like this person that's not on the council yet. I don't care if your wife is not on the council. I don't care if your husband is not on the council. And you're supposed to be a just individual. And if you're not a just individual, you don't belong in the council. So for the fair fact that the master couldn't find people like that, right? We don't have a 24 elders council. And the same thing for the clan mother concept. You know what I'm saying? So until we get it to the point where we really respect our own culture, it becomes like all these books means nothing. Because it's like giving profound knowledge to a bunch of niggas who don't really want to do the right thing with it. Just want to sound heavy and momentarily with their girls or with their boys or girls to guys, whatever it may be. And don't really want this to really be for the next generation. Mm-hmm. Don't you want the children to raise up, to grow up, and still have a culture where it's all set and it's no one scrambling and trying to figure things out? It's good when the children can grow up in a system where things are already set for them. And they can trust, y'all can go here and talk to the elders. And those would have been mechanisms to say, set up a system of trust and loyalty to eventually become those high elders on high. Because when we think about the 24 elders on high, do you think about people gossiping?
No.
No. You think about respectful beings, supreme beings,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, I'm going to supreme beings with my problems so they can help me with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, like I said, in this culture, a lot of people are not utilizing it for what it's for. And what that does is like, it just do a disservice to why the information is here and is not being utilized in its most profound way. Because the information is profound.
Right.
It's just not being utilized.
That actually ties into the next question from Al-Zamal Amanda Bailey, Rabat Moisar. What scroll and or practices should we refer people that have just come into Wu-Sabat to build character? I'm observing a lot of people just wanting information but not wanting to build character. This should be balanced, right? Example, having knowledge and still abusive behind closed doors, etc. How do we put across the how do we put across the necessity to come together to build and support the community? So the question is the first question is, what scroll or practices should we refer people that have just come into Wu-Sabat to build their character?
Okay, so I would suggest books like The Mamba, Potential, but more importantly, join the orders. And the orders, them too, are supposed to be set up in a way to help build character. You understand? If you join any of our orders and you're not learning how to build your character, I don't know what they're doing. Because that's what the purpose is. Because why would you be in a Masonic lodge when we predate the Masons? Let's think about it, right? You're in it on a lower level because that's the same type of teaching that the Makasu did, right? To build a character. So now it's given to you because you're on a lower level like them in order to build your character. But we really have to utilize the teachings in it to build it. So if you have a brotherhood, right? That brotherhood is supposed to be teaching a man how to be a man. How to be a ladies' man. You know what I'm saying? How to be a brother to his brother. How to be a family man. And the OES is supposed to be teaching the same thing to the women. How to be a wife. How to be a family woman. You know what I'm saying? How to dress. Because you shouldn't be in the orders and dressing like a harlot in the culture. Right or wrong?
That's right.
Because you're disrespecting the order. Now, if you have any shame or respect for your order, you won't do certain things. Because you know that what you do reflect where you come from. And if you're part of the shrine, you're part of the lodge, you're part of OES, and that's ours, and you're doing something on the outside that you're not doing, you're doing something on the house, you're doing something on the inside, right? That's when you come in the forefront, you're pretending like you're not doing it, right? So, once again, those are the books, and it's all about character adjustments, and it takes a village to do it. That's why we have a culture. If you ask anybody, how do you safeguard, let's say, promiscuity?
Yep.
How do you safeguard that in any type of community? How? You build a culture. And you build a culture that does what? Teach the young boys and young girls not to be promiscuous. And you have a system while you're teaching them that you're shunning it. You know what I'm saying? You're shunning it so hard that the young girl's like, I ain't trying to be no harlot. The young boy's like, I ain't trying to play my sisters. Right? You build it like that, so you build certain schools when you teach them from young to safeguard them from becoming animals like most people on the planet. And that's what this culture is built for. But what happens is, many people don't want the culture. That's the reality. And they don't really get it. And I'm saying they don't get it because there's simple things in our culture that we shouldn't be even asking about. We should just know. For instance, let me ask you something. If Baba said this, you with that sister? Yeah? I want you to marry her. What should that person do now? What should they do? What should that couple do? If Baba say, brother, I want you to marry that sister, what should you do? All right, let me give you some choices. Should you go down to City Hall or downtown Newark or wherever you at, the courthouse, and get married? Hey, anyone, do you think you should do that?
No.
Should you go to your own culture, marriage rituals, and get married?
Ask permission.
No, listen to what I'm saying. A, go down to City Hall or any courthouse and get legally married, right? B, utilize your own culture and use your marriage rituals and get married.
B.
Okay, now most of the times in our culture, I guarantee 90% of people are going to go down there. When we have books that says their marriage is not our culture, their legal system is not ours. If a person says If a person asks you as a Sabian, are you monogamous? What should be your answer?
Yeah.
No. You know why? Because that's not even your word. Are you polygamous? No. Why? That's not my word. I don't have no culture that surrounds that terminology. That's a Greek word. You know what I'm saying? That has nothing to do with my culture. Because when you start to get in the mindset of a Sabian, Nuwapian, you're no longer identifying with terminology that has to do with the devil system.
Right.
Because polygyny has nothing to do with us. By definition, that's not our word.
Right.
Someone made that up. What is the word in your culture for that? What is the word for monogamy in your culture for that? You know what I'm saying? And this is the mindset we have to be in our culture in order to raise the next generation. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be raising half Sabians, half Nuwapians, who are going to be 1 foot into their system and 1 foot into our culture. You know what I'm saying? When their whole foot, both of them should be in our culture. Their mind should be in our culture. So when we talk about certain principles, certain things, it should be full circle, a Sabian mindset, a Nuwapian mindset, not a Nuwapian mindset / the worldly view. Only our mindset. And that's what's called giving them back everything. Giving them back everything. Because here's the thing. If you get married legally in their system, and then you call yourself a Nuwapian Sabian, when you get married in America, right? Usually, it's a religious thing, right or wrong? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
90% of the time, the person is holding what book?
Bible.
A Bible. So you a Sabian, and you just got legally married
By way of
by way of the Bible, while your books say the Bible is trash. What are we doing? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
The mindset is screwed up because you've been here for so long that you think just like the oppressor, and then you're trying to think like a Sabian at the same time. You got to submerge yourself in your own culture to think like a Nuwapian Sabian and start doing things like a Nuwapian Sabian. But most people are not ready for that because that takes work. You know what I'm saying? It takes work to say, we're not going to slander no more. It takes work to say, I'm not going to touch or hit that woman. Like the sister said, people doing stuff behind closed doors. Most people do stuff behind closed doors and come on the surface and do something else. If that's your mate, help him. Don't expose him. Help him. If he's beating you, tell somebody. But if he have things that he does behind closed doors, if you love that man, you help him. You know what I'm saying? If it's your wife and she's doing stuff behind closed doors that you know is not upright and is a part of our culture, you help her if you love her. You know what I'm saying? If it's abusive, like I said, because women beat men too, that's not, right? Tell somebody. This woman is putting her hands on me. Because you know, women do that too. We ain't gonna act like women don't be touching men.
That's right. They're laughing, right? All right, so the second part, if you haven't addressed it, how do we put across the necessity to come together to build and support the community?
We have to first build a community. We got to come together. Those of us that want a community have to literally come together. We have to have mind teams that come together and say, hey, let's pick a particular area. If you're in Jersey, all the people that's in Jersey come together and say, hey, let's go buy a particular area. That means you can start off buying just land. Just say, yo, let's pick an area and just buy land. And after we buy land, we're going to build on that land. And when we build on that land, we're going to make sure we all live together. That means we build houses next to each other. And then once you have all of us living in the same area, now you can implement the culture there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one thing to have a culture, but we scattered everywhere. That way, you're not being judged by other Sabians. And what I mean by that is this. Most of the time, people want to do the right thing only if they could be seen. And they do wrong things when they can't be seen. But if we lived in a community and everybody could see each other, and we know what each other does, right? Then you become exposed. And what's the one thing that we teach that the devil hates? Exposure. They don't like to be exposed. So when we have a community, if you live with Sabians and y'all have these scrolls, you should be judging each other by the scrolls. You know what I'm saying? We should be wanting to live by the scrolls so that when that time comes, anything that happens in your life, it should be according to what you live by. You know what I'm saying? Anything you do should be according to what you live by. So like I said, come together with a group of people, like minds, buy some land. This stuff is not hard. Don't make it sound far-fetched. It's very easy. Many of us already have properties in a culture. So if we come together with people who's serious about it and buy land, you don't even need, we had 476 in Georgia. You could find less than that and still build small communities. You know what I'm saying? If everyone was doing something like that to find a community, find areas you could buy land and then build on it, or find a community where it's places that's not populated yet and try to get in and get family members in, where a lot of us could live in close proximity. Because here's the thing, when things hit the fan and you live in Newark and you live in another part of Jersey that's far, and you live over there, how are we going to help each other? And we so far from each other. You know what I'm saying? What if the radios go out? How are we going to help? It's better if we all in close proximity, right? So we can be close together, and if each other needs something, we right there. And then after that, once you got your community, you enforce your culture. You heard me? Enforce your culture. That means this the culture of Wu-Sabat, enforce it. No one should be straddling the fence in the culture. If it's a dress code for the brothers, wear the dress code. And brothers, check each other if we're not wearing it. Sisters, is there a dress code for the sisters? Check the sisters. Because that's the only way our culture is going to become defined as something that's realistic. You think you could be a police officer and not wear the police uniform?
Nope.
No. It's a part of the uniform. It's a part of the dress code. It's a part of their code. What's our codes? And when are we going to actually live up to them? Because if you don't respect your own codes, you expect somebody from the outside to come in and look at how all of us look different and say, oh, he does that, he does that. Man, I can do whatever I want here. A person should feel like when I come in, it's a culture. And I feel, even when they walk in your store, they feel, do I got to take my shoes off? It should be immaculate. You know what I'm saying? To the point where it feels like a holy thing. We look at countries like China, and people like to praise countries like China or India, or let's say the Jews. That's another popular group. And the only reason they praising them is because those people enforce their culture on their people. The Jews enforce their culture on their men and on their women and their children. Going to follow suit. The Hindus, when you go to a Hindu culture, you go to their lands, most of them is going to be Hinduism for their religion. Most of them are going to have these red things on them. Most of them is going to be living a culture that's according to that. Now, that doesn't mean everyone in their culture are doing it to the T. But it's so populated with them living their culture that you can't even pinpoint the ones that's not doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So it's supposed to get to that point even amongst us, where it's so much of us that's enforcing the culture that you can't pinpoint who's not. Who's not really living it on that high level. Look at Africa, even though that's our homeland, how many countries in Africa? 53 countries. A bunch of different cultures on that land. That land will always be separated because there's so many different cultures, so many different mindsets. And that's why a person could compare China to Africa and look at it like, you can't really do the comparison because China is under one ruler. Africa is under many rulers. You know what I'm saying? We need one head and then the people. You know what I'm saying? So,
All right.
that's all I could get.
All right. You have any questions in the room? I got more online. All right. So this is from Azamal Don Mary. He says, Rayay Muisar, Freedom Master Teacher. Thanks for always keeping the doctrine alive. Is his question.
Appreciate you.
Right? What, if anything, is making up dark matter or dark energy between the space that can't be seen with the physical eye?
First of all, when you say dark matter, you got to understand that that's already itself cannot be seen with the physical eye.
Right.
Right? So when we're talking about the space itself in space, and what they call in dark matter, dark in physics is a term that's utilized to mean invisible matter. That's all. That's just a euphemism for invisible matter, another term for invisible matter. So that space alone is already called invisible matter. They just utilize the term dark matter. And we know that the universe is made up of a certain percentage of dark matter and a certain percentage of dark energy. We know that the dark energy is more than the dark matter. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
According to them, they're talking about invisible gravity that's expanding the universe. That's how they teach it. We were teaching it like dark matter is us, right? That's the beings in the dark that you can't see. And in other words, That's the etheric beings that's responsible for this whole universe. And it's two different standpoints when we utilize the term as opposed to when they utilize the term. When they tell you about dark matter, dark energy, they tell you the universe is made up of 76% dark energy, 25% dark matter, right? No, 76 dark energy, 24 dark matter. And they'll say 1% normal matter. That's how they get it. Because they're looking at things like what we can touch right now is that 1%. We have a different concept, right? We give it 75% dark energy and 25% dark matter, leaving no room for ordinary matter.
Right.
Right? And why is that? Because we understand that we're in the mind of all. Thus, in reality, solidity is an illusion. Everything is space. Dark matter is everywhere, all around you, just materialized in different forms. When it gets to space, you just can't see it. You understand? And on Earth, we would call ourselves it. We'll say we dark matter.
Right. All right, nothing else online at the moment.
Another reason why we would say we would leave no room for ordinary matter is because we have this concept called all, right? And the all. And when you really understand that concept, the reason why in truth there's no ordinary matter is because in reality we are all in the mind of all.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're in the mind of something, right, you're really like a figment of its projected imagination. So are you real? Is this a dream?
Right.
Have you asking all those type of concepts now? Yes.
How do you feel and how do you see the way the beauty of Dr. York when he takes the sacred orders and shows the magnitude of the Egyptian powers of it, as opposed to where the white man shows any organization with his influence, if I'm pretty clear. How do you like the way?
How do I like it?
Yeah, how do you like it, and what do you?
Being that I'm a descendant of those Egyptians, I feel good about it. Because what he's trying to do is show you that every order that they created has an origin, just like religion. So let's say the Masonic order. That's an origin. What do the Masons wear? They wear these collars around their neck and they wear these aprons. If you go to Egypt, don't you see those collars and aprons around those statues? So we know that in the highest order, right, in Masonry, right, is what? The 33rd degree. And what they'll say is that they'll say you become a master mason. What is a master mason? A builder. Well, who are the true master masons? Who are the true master builders? That no one knows how to build the structures that they built. None other than who?
Ancient
The ancient Egyptians.
Yeah.
Or Kemites, right? Kemet.
Gun guys. Right.
Mac.
Right.
So at the end of the day, that right there tells you that, right? Even the letter that they use, the G, right? The symbols that they use, the sun. When a person becomes a past master and they have that sun over his head,
Yeah.
right? Or the pyramid with the eye on top, right? To show you that they know that the pyramid on the top is flat. It doesn't have a capstone. That's why the eye is always separate from the pyramid. You understand? So all these concepts come from ancient Egypt. Even though the Europeans demonize it, because you got people who really understand what Masonry is about, and you got other people who go on social media and learn about Masonry through the evil one. So they think, oh, Masonry is evil. No, it's not. You have evil Masonry, and you have good Masonry. You know what I'm saying? Euro Masonry, evil. African Masonry, good. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't talking about Prince Hall. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the original Egyptian Masonic order only.
Right.
I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? You ain't a part of us, clandestine.
Truth is true. Truth is true.
And so because here's the thing, when you're a Mason, you have to get a charter. That's how they teach it today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a charter and you a black man, right, who's supposed to be the descendants of the original Master Masons, who you got your charter from? If you got your charter from white people, you're clandestine, because white people are clandestine Masons.
Mm-hmm.
Who authorized them? What black Egyptian lodge authorized them? And if there, no black Egyptians authorized them, they clandestine. And if you're a black Masonic order, right, and you got your, what do you call it?
Right.
Recognition from Caucasians, you're clandestine just like them. You know what I'm saying? We don't get our recognition from no white man.
Sure.
No disrespect.
Right.
But we predate them. We older than them. Why would I get permission from my children? That sounds stupid. Right? They are our children. We don't get endorsed by them. We don't get recognized by them. No, they recognized by us. Because we're the ones that put them through Masonry. You know what I'm saying? And going forward, the shrine and all that. All these things are still linked to ancient Egypt. Order of the Eastern Stars. What's that? Eastern Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the star in the east? Who's that? Ishtar or Aset. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing with, when you think about Aset, what is her symbol? She has a symbol also with a star on her head, right? So the Eastern Stars is nothing but what? An order that's made that still give reverence to what? The Egyptian goddesses.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But these are the things that the average Eastern Stars don't know. Sobek, I think.
Sobek, yeah.
It's
yeah,
Sobek.
that's
Sobek.
right.
It's an accent, so it's Sobek with the star on the head.
All right. We have a question from Don Mary. He says, why is it considered we're living in a matrix?
I don't know. We never really teach that. We never really teach in our culture that we're living in a matrix. I know a lot of people on social media, they have their concept to say this whole thing is a matrix. I guess they want to relate it to the movie, right? To say, and in some type of way you can say that, but I would say this. If you wanted to equate that matrix movie concept to reality, the only ones that's living that reality is Sabians. I'm going to tell you why. What was the concept of the Matrix movie? That there was a fake world and there was a real world.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who lived in the fake world, that world was more beautiful and everyone accepting and loving and, you know what I'm saying? Everyone liked it. Everything was fake, right? Then the real world was the raw truth. They didn't have nice clothing, right?
Nothing.
They had to eat slop, right? So what happened is, when you become a Sabian, as opposed to anything outside that's in the matrix, if you're a Christian, Muslim, Jew, you're in the matrix. If you're a person that says, I'm not religious, I'm just spiritual, you're in the matrix, right? But once you get to Nuwapu, right, you're no longer in it. Because the veil of all those things is pulled over your eye. It's pulled away from you.
Yeah.
And now you start to see things for what it really is. You start to see religion for what it really is. You start talking to religious people and they think you're crazy. Why? Because they're in the matrix and you're not. You know what I'm saying? You start talking to your friends and families about this truth. They look at you like you crazy because they're in the matrix and you're not. You know what I'm saying? So once you get this information, it appears like you're in the real world because now you see things for what it really is. You see religion for what it really is. You see culture for what it really is. People be saying black people have a culture outside of Nuwapu. What culture? Hip-hop? It's not a culture. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? What's our culture as black people? Everybody in the world knows we don't really have a real culture. The only culture that we have is Wu-Sabat. You know what I'm saying? And this is the home for intelligent Nagaros who want a better life in the future. If we're going to work together and make it happen. Because it's not about asking for handouts from other races. It's about coming and working for self, working amongst self and kind and doing our own thing.
Yep.
We're not out here trying to ask for 40 acres and a mule. We don't care about reparation in this culture. That's another concept. That's a matrix concept. When do you know a people who conquer another people like the European conquer many people, right? They're known for conquering nations, right?
Right.
When do you know that after they conquer a nation, they say, let's help out the people we conquered?
Never.
Let me think about that.
They
Yeah,
don't, they
I like
don't
that.
help the people
Never.
they conquer,
Yeah.
even when it's their own people. They
Mhm.
don't help them. So why is black people looking for handouts from the oppressor? You're supposed to look at each other and say, hey, we got to help our own self. And the only way to help our own self is to come together and start to live for and of and by each other, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have another question from Zamal Patah Amun, Akad Rayay. Does or do all the Natharu have their own specific sign or emblem or sigil we can use to call on them?
Not that I know of. I just know the one that YAANAN gave us, his sale,
Right.
his sigil. But I don't know about the other ones. Nevertheless, we can call on them without a sigil, right? That's why we do Ashtar or
Mm-hmm.
the chants,
Yeah.
right? You can call on these deities. You can embody them and empower them by calling them because they're there waiting for you. Baba always taught us that your ancestors are there. They're just waiting on you to call out and reach out to them.
Mhm.
So utilize them when you need them. If you're sick, call on Serapis. That's a healer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anything that you need in life, call on the deities based on what their names represent. And they will show you signs through that. You know what I'm saying? And when you get to a higher level, then you can be able to talk to beings directly. That's another level. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But first you should practice with your direct descendants. Because once you're able to talk to a deceased grandmother, or deceased grandfather, or deceased mother, or deceased father, or brother, that's the first level of learning about the etheric realm now.
Right.
Because now you actually have real live contact. And understand this, when you start to have contact on the other side, this is not information to be given to nobody. It's not something you go tell somebody, hey, you know I talked to,
Right.
listen, that person don't care. That's your experience. You know what I'm saying? And until you can start materializing and making things happen in this world, that's the only way they won't believe you. So if you tell a family member or a friend, hey, I speak to my ancestors, they can hear you, but it's not their reality. That's your reality, right? When you're able to tap in so good that you could mess with them, say, you want me to prove it? You want me to prove it? This is what you're thinking right now. This is what you're saying right now. And I just say everything you're saying to your brain right now and show you. You know what I'm saying? What you got in your pocket. I can tell you what's in your pocket right now because I can see. My eyes can see an etheric you and it's, oh, yeah, I see that thing in your back pocket. I can see it. You know what I'm saying? Take that out. Because now I'm showing you I'm tapped in. You know what I'm saying? If I want to show a person, but if I was tapped in like that, I wouldn't show you anyway.
Exactly. Exactly, Zamal. You would not. Mm-hmm.
I'll let you abuse me. Why the ancient ones say this? Baba say the Riskians are so, they such at a perfect state that they'll let you humans harm them. Knowing they could destroy you. Because a person who has telepathy could just beam in on mind waves on you and destroy you. But they're like, yo, why would I do that and create Kador for myself?
Right.
They're always on the verge of calculating. Everything I do is equal and opposite reaction. That's what science teaches, right? For every action is an equal and opposite reaction. Some people say what goes around, come back around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. The ancient ones they are very keen when it comes to matters of Kador or fate, right? So they'll never, in the realm of trying to affect things that they're going to get a negative result from. So that means that people can harm them and they'll let them. You know what I'm saying? They'll let them because they know. They said, what was the concept in the book? Man, Planet Ray, he said, they'll let you kill them.
Yeah.
Let you kill them? An average human, they think like, nah, I'm done. Because they know they can come right back.
Exactly.
As an Ethereum. But you who just feel like you stuck in that physical shell, that's not a reality for you. Because you haven't ascended to that level yet. You haven't manifested or vibrated yourself on such a level that you know that you're an etheric being. You still think that you're immortal. And because of that mindset, that's what you are. Because how it goes. Whatever you think, that is what you truly are. You think you're a deity, you work towards it, you become a deity. You think you're immortal, that's where you're going to stop. You think you a beast, because you got some of our children out there saying, they call themselves vile names today, like what? I'm a gorilla. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a beast. I'm a
No
demon.
more demon time. Yeah.
All that chant, they chanting 6 etheric energy onto themselves.
Whole time.
Not realizing it. You know what I'm saying? And wonder why they're getting caught up in stuff. Once you change your frequency, even things around you, how things come to you will change. You know what I'm saying? So, yes.
So that's like my good favorite subject as far as the 30 voices. So it's obvious that we need to dominate. We need to have most of those 30s on our side as far as frequency and what we want done, and them working to help us out of your 30.
If you can, because remember, out of your 30, some of them are not elevated.
Elevated?
Right? Meaning, some of them are still on the lower level. That's why when we was taught it, it was talking about how it's usually giving examples of bad habits. Let's say you're a person who don't drink, and you go through some type of emotional situation, and then you start feeling like you want to drink. Like, damn, I'm so stressed out, I just want to drink. I'm going to a bar. If you as a person is not doing that, right? And all of a sudden you want to do it, that's one of your 30 spirits that descended down. And once you drink it, they're in that seat now. You know what I'm saying? Meaning you're no longer there. They're taking over. Because now that's what they wanted. That's all they wanted was a hit of that liquor.
Whole time.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to be the person to what? Bind the spirits.
Yeah.
That also means that you got to control them. And you control them by being the deity, the type of deity that you're supposed to be, that you get created, that you're trained to be in this culture. This culture is a culture that's what we call it the third eye sight. Remember that? So if this is a third eye sight, this is where you learn to what? Be able to see into other dimensions.
Yep.
If you're able to see into the other dimensions, can't you see your 30 spirits? And once you see them and can intermingle or, communicate with them, you would know who not to mess with and who to mess with. Because some of them on your line could be scientists. Some of them could be doctors. Some of them could be great people. You know what I'm saying? Work with the ones that you know is going to work with you for betterment in your physical life.
Right.
If you're going to deal with them on this plane. Because some of them may not be for you. Some of them are for themselves. BABAH teaches about the planes of existence. And these planes of existence let you know, he says, okay, most people think that the physical is all that there is to be. And we know that that's not true. And he gave you a simple example so you could be able to take your mind from the physical realm to the etheric realm. So he said, let me show you through science. He said, hey, what's the smallest atom? You get hydrogen.
Hydrogen, yeah.
What's the weight of hydrogen? 1.
1.
So, okay, when you split the hydrogen atom and it reveals the quarks, what's the weight of quarks? 0. The spiritual world revealed. So quarks is anything less than, spirituality is anything less than hydrogen on backwards. Right? So, with that being clear in mind, once you learn how to vibe on that side, and as opposed to just this side, because it's the physical side. You ever do mathematics, and they'll put a 0 in the middle, and then on this side, right side, it'd be positive numbers. 1 to, let's say 1 to 10. And on the left side, it'd be negative 1 to 10.
Yep.
Well, in reality, the negative side is the reality. That's the etheric realm. And the positive side is the physical realm. We are in the physical realm. The hydrogen atom is the 0 because it's in the center of all things. And once you crack it, you go over to this side. You know what I'm saying? And if you keep going forward and making yourself more solid, you go to this side. Now, BABAH explained to us that this. He said, you are more dense. You are the most dense that you could ever be. That means you can't become any more physical. So your journey must be that way towards spirituality. Right? And many people out there teaching people that you only live once. That's a joke, because once you transition and realize that you're still alive, now what? Because death is not the end. Death is a doorway to the spiritual realm. And if you never prepared yourself for that, what happens then? That becomes your family members, right, who are stuck in planes of existence. So now you have the physical plane, which is the material plane. Above that is what?
Plane of force.
Plane of force. And then what after that? The spiritual plane. And then the mental. and then so forth all the way up to the ninth plane.
Yeah.
The Riskians are beings from the ninth plane. So really the planes start from the top down. So now I'll give you a different concept when Bible say they build things from the top down.
Yeah.
Like a pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Nothing online at the moment.
Can you explain the plane of force?
The plane of force, right? The plane of force is the second plane of existence, right?
Sure.
And the plane of force is the energy that makes the material plane possible. The plane of force is the energy, meaning anything that exists, right? That's, let's say a mechanical device. A mechanical device can't work without what? A force.
True.
Electrical force. That electrical force is usually called a battery, right? Well, in the plane of force will be the battery of the material plane. The plane of force is the energies that makes the physical plane possible. It is also what we call nature. You know what I'm saying? What we call nature, that is a manifestation of the plane of force. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the energy that gives life to the entire planet. Nature. You know what I'm saying? So, on the plane of force, on that plane, there's just like the thing that can get you out of the material plane is what? Once you overcome desire, you can ascend the material plane. So if a person transitions and they still have desires on the material plane, they will still be on the material plane as an etheric being trying to overcome desire. Right? That's why a person gets stuck on a plane. Then you go to another plane. The next plane is the plane of force. Even on the plane of force, the Bible said on the plane of force, things on the plane of force look very similar to the material plane. Just a shade, he described like a shade different. But he said that's the energy realm for this realm. And what keeps you on that realm is attraction. You'll be attracted to things. Look similar, but slightly different. And if you can't overcome that, you could be stuck on the plane of force.
That's right.
And so forth. And now, then you go to the spiritual plane. He was like, you can't get to the spiritual plane unless you what? Get rid of your ego.
Yep.
Ego means what? I-ness. You gotta be a person that's about unity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're still on that, it's all about me, you ain't going to the spiritual plane. So when people say they spiritual and they got a big ass ego, you know damn well they're not spiritual. It's just a word. You know what I'm saying? And then some people, they may have a bloodline where some family members may have open vortexes. And if they open vortex, and I mean spiritual vortexes in their bloodline.
Right.
So a person may be messing with, let's say, what type of spiritual practices that people do? Yoruba, or Yoruba, or let's say Ouija board.
Yep.
They open up a portal. So now you being a descendant of them can now be spiritual without doing the work. But guess what? You're not in control.
Right.
You just happen to be able to see things and don't know what to do. No, is it talking to me? I can't. You don't even know how to function.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So then after that, you get to the mental plane. After the spiritual plane is the mental plane. On the mental plane, that's where all minds meet. When you're on the mental plane, a person who can vibrate on the mental plane, that person is the type of person that can go up to an animal. I'm not talking about trained lions and giving us videos with trained lions. No. Go to the wild and go to that lion. Let me see that lion be cool with you. A person that's on the mental plane, they mind link with every living thing, including the beast. And the beast will know that person is peaceful. I ain't gonna bother them. You know what I'm saying? And so forth. So, and now when you become a person, the beauty of being a Nuwapian Sabian is this. All this information that the Master gave us is to what? It's about self-development.
Yep.
Right? And it's called a spiritual science, right? Because it's a science to spirituality, right? So now what happens is this. Once you master spirituality in the physical, right? You can scale the planes.
Right.
That means you won't be stuck when you transition. You just go to the highest plane. So some people who are here trying to perfect themselves on earth, meaning utilizing the information that they was given by a master that's from there. Why would he be called a master teacher? Or a spiritual master. Because just like when you go to the university and someone is called a master teacher, because you know you got master teachers in the university, right? Or a person is a specialist at biology, right? Or a person is a specialist at chemistry. They call him a chemist. Well, these people are masters in their field, and they teach their students, right? And as they teach their students, they teach their students what? The things that they knew. So they had to have a certain form of expertise in order to teach you about chemistry,
Right.
in order to teach you about biology. Well, he say he's a spiritual master. Now, the spiritual master in the physical realm, he's trying to teach you about what? Spiritual matters. And to get you prepared for the oncoming thing that you cannot dodge. Because guess what? Everybody's going to transition. One day. You ain't going to live forever in the physical. So one day the physical body is going to decompose, whether you get cremated or buried, and you're going to be left with what? The etheric you. That's linked to the mental. And now, and because it's linked to the mental, that's why people have concepts in religion where they could say, oh, when you die, you're going to go to hell. When you die, you're going to go to heaven. That's a confirmation to let you know what? The mind still exists, even when you die. Right? Because if it didn't exist, what would be hell? Death would be, I just died. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Right? Oh, heaven. What is heaven if the mind don't exist? If the mind don't exist?
Right.
The mind is real and it connects you to that reality. And here's a truth. Whatever you think is going to happen to you at death, right? It's going to happen to you at death. What does that mean? That means that when we get the information that Dr. York teaches us, what he's trying to do is reprogram our mind from the trap that the evil one has taught us about death. Because the concept of death that they taught us is only going to put us in a loop. For instance, you ask the average person, when you die, what happens? Because of cinemas, they've been watching movies for so long, they go, walk to the white light. That's what they believe. So when that person dies, that's a concept that they truly believe. And since they truly believe it, guess what's going to happen when they are fading away? They're going to see that white light. Yo, this is time to go.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Going. But what did we learn about the white light? In our spiritual science.
Recycle black here.
It's a recycle.
Yep.
It's not a good thing to do. You're supposed to go towards the darkness.
That's right.
But what did they teach you on earth about darkness? It's evil. It's bad.
Evil, yeah.
I had it. I was in a dark place in my life. Every movie you watch, they tell me they've been in a dark place. I'm like, for real? Like, darkness is the original state of this whole planet.
Yes.
If it wasn't no sun, right, the planet would be in darkness. The only reason why in the shadow hour we think there's light here is why? Because we created lights for the streets and things of that nature. Back in the days, we talking about when they didn't have this electricity thing, when it became shadow,
It was dark.
it was pitch black. You had to have a lantern.
Yeah.
Who that? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right knowledge.
So the planet is already in darkness. So darkness is not a bad thing. It's just that religion, which was a tool of the devil, they made sure to utilize words that's going to affect us in the future. Meaning, if they knew that they plagiarized your culture to create religion and they wanted to make sure that you would never return to your culture, they had to inculcate certain terminologies and made them evil when in your ancient culture, those terminologies was positive. So darkness was actually a good thing. You know what I'm saying? In our culture. Because darkness predates light. How does darkness predate light? Well, space has a whole bunch of suns, right? Every time you look at a star, you're looking at a sun, right? So when you look at a bunch of stars in the sky, it's so. Oh,
That's you. Yeah, that was you.
Okay.
Yeah. So just think about the universe itself.
Right.
The universe is full of suns. We know what one sun could do to this planet in the daytime, right? It lights it up.
Right.
So how come the millions of suns in space is not lighting up space?
Right.
Because the darkness dominates the light.
That's right.
And that's only because the light is something brand new that was clicked on in the darkness. How do you know? Well, you can't have a sun without hydrogen and helium coming together.
Right.
When those two things come together, it creates the nuclear fusion that we call the sun. But then another question I have to say, how did that happen? Someone had to bring it together.
Yeah.
So someone in that darkness or the dark matter had to bring the hydrogen and helium together to create the suns. And we would say we are descendants of those etheric beings who created the suns, called the Etherians. So darkness is permanent and light is temporary.
Right.
And even in the Bible, God said, let there be
Light.
which implies that he was in
Darkness.
You said? And then in the same Bible, they say the devil is the prince of
Light.
darkness.
Prince of darkness,
So,
yeah.
a bunch of contradictions in the same book.
Yep.
That's why we say give it back, leave it alone. Any other questions?
Nothing online just yet.
I remember I was teaching one time and told people, if you ask a person what's the opposite of darkness, they're gonna say,
Light?
is that true? No.
Nope.
That's not the truth. Because here's the thing. Most people don't understand that opposites are the same thing. Not two different things. So for instance, when you talk about opposites, right? You have to realize that a thing is only the opposite or the opposing side of something that's the same thing. So opposites are usually something that's on the same pole.
Right.
You cannot switch the pole and make another pole and create and say that's the opposite. Like for instance, people say, what's the opposite of a dog? Most people say what? A cat. That's a lie. They're not the same thing, right? That's only a domestic concept because some people have dogs and cats in their house. Now, if I said, what's the opposite of tall? Tall. Opposite of tall is?
Short.
Those are the same thing, meaning they have to be on the same pole.
Mm-hmm.
That means you can take the pole, you can take a pole and say, here's a short pole, and take the same pole and say, here's a long pole.
Right.
Sharp and dull. Those are opposites. Because you can take something dull and sharpen it and make it sharp. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What else? Hot and cold.
Yeah.
Those are the same thing. What is the pole? Temperature.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
It's like the magnet, right? The magnet, it attracts, and it's because it's not negative and positive, it's two positives.
Mm-hmm. So now check this out. So when it comes back to dark and light, right? How do you know they're not opposites? Because they're not on the same pole. Darkness, right, is a state of existence before light ever existed. Light is something that has to be sparked, that has to be ignited, not from the darkness. The darkness always exists by itself. Light has to be ignited in order for it to be formed. So light can never be the opposite of darkness. Light is something that just came, and its presence is only acknowledged because of the darkness. But it's not its opposite,
Mm-hmm.
because light and dark is not the same thing. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
I hope people got
Sure.
that. Darkness is infinite. And then when you look at the word infinite,
Mhm.
you can break it to infinite.
Mm-hmm.
In the dark. Any other questions?
Nothing online.
And this is a type of matrix, this is a type of out of the matrix information that we get.
Mm-hmm.
That some people on the line like, nah bro, light is opposite of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make sense of it. It's like that concept when we learned Bob used to say, we had this concept where it's like people said this in class, he said, many people say I don't like when people talk behind my back. Y'all heard that before?
Sure.
And most people agree. I don't like when people talk behind my back. And then Baba woke us up, taking us out the matrix, and said, oh, hold up. Listen, the only place I want people to talk to me is behind my back.
That's right.
Because behind my back is in my face.
In my face.
And the person goes, what? Somebody still go, no, behind your back is behind your back is in your face. You know what I'm saying? And that's breaking the spell, breaking the matrix.
Mm-hmm. We have a question online from Azumal, C. Newark, C. Jersey, Rabat. Question is, has consciousness always existed?
All right,
I
we're
knew
going
it.
to
I
pass
knew
the
it.
class to my brother Sobek.
I appreciate you, bro. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. All right, Rabat. Rabat's our family online as well. Rob Azumal, so your question is, has consciousness always existed? When you talk about consciousness, your consciousness has conditions, right? And you have certain sets of consciousness. You have the subconscious, you have the conscious that we have right now with each other, and then you have the superconscious. Being that those are conditions of consciousness, it did not always exist in the form that we know. Because inside of all, consciousness was born, right? So consciousness had a beginning, but it predates all of us, even to the point where we can comprehend that point. We can't find that point while trapped in the body. But consciousness did not always exist. The only thing that always existed, always has existed, does exist, and always will exist is all. And from all came all things that we can comprehend, and even things that are beyond our comprehension. All right? So I pray that that does address that question. Do we have any other questions? If not, before we do, let's talk about what Mazamal was talking about earlier, where all the concepts of masonry, even religion, they find their roots in ancient Egypt. So if you look at our deity Tahuti, you can actually see in his dress where they got the Masonic attire from. You see the collar right here. And now you see the apron, right? So that was just from that school of thought. We had to give them that because they were uncivilized. We had to give them the first 3 degrees just to make them worthy enough to sit in our presence. Because they were so animalistic when we came upon them, we was like, oh, that is a beast. We didn't call them humans, we called them mankind, beasts of the field, all these different things. But they were coming around because they were spreading across with their diseases and all that other stuff. So it said, if you want to actually even conduct business with us, talk to us, be around us, we have to give you all these first 3 degrees, all right? So again, everything comes from that, which is why a lot of the ancient walls in ancient Egypt, you see murals or designs or stelas is the word, where you'll see a sun, right? You have a sun, and then you have these sun rays coming down, right? And at the end of these rays, they look like hands. Well, at the bottom of those hands or those rays are the different schools of thought that were born out of that. From what they could comprehend, it became religions, right? And that's why with the hands meaning, we had a hand in the birth of all their concepts of spirituality. But above that is the science of it, as Jamal was talking about. Because when, I think another question, insofar as the dark matter and the dark energy, things like that, all of that comes from natural ether energy. And there's more of that than anything else that comes after that. Because it takes that to slow down in vibration and frequency to solidify enough to be called matter, dark or not. To become matter, you had to have energy that moved to that point of matter. So when you hear that, you will find that in natural ether energy, right? That's actually factor 25. See if I can find that for us real quick.
I got some questions.
Oh, you got questions? Okay, we go ahead. We can get back to that. What's the question?
So the question is from Olabid Joni El Lagoya.
Okay, round back.
Is the Prince of Darkness the child of the King of Darkness? If so, who is the king?
Okay, so you're talking about in religious terms, right? You have the Most High. And on the opposite of that, or the other spectrum on that same pole on the field of all, you have the Most Low. So the Prince of Darkness would be called Satan in some schools of thought, but we have the etymology of the word that would be incorrect. Satan really means 6. So that's not a person's name. These are titles. So you have Lucifer or Louis Cypher, or you have in the Sumerian doctrine, you have Halal. He would be the prince. And then his father, right, would be Humbaba. You get it? Humbaba, the father. So that would be the king of darkness, as it were. But again, those are just titles for these beings who had other names, but by the time it got to the religious books, which is used to control the masses, they would just say Prince of Darkness. So if it's a prince, obviously by genealogy, you would say he has a father, right? So at the height of that name, you would simply say the devil. And the prince would be a devil. So that the devil would be Humbaba and all of those other Sumerian doctrines or names or titles of those beings. right? But again, that's limiting the concept, even the answer itself is limited by way of religion. All right, I pray that answers the question for you.
Because it's from Lamar Watson. When does the 9-day fast start?
It's coming up too, so I want to say either December 12th of this year or the 13th. Right, we'll get more information on that, but it's coming up this week actually, because the day is the 7th, so it's going to start this oncoming week. So just look for us to post it, right? And then you got a couple of days to prepare for that. So you're asking, so I know you're getting ready to do it. That's what's up. Yes.
What fast is that?
It's called Winter Solstice Purification Fast. All right.
CD work. He said, when did consciousness, according to Egypt, was the consciousness in Nun as gas?
As gas? Okay, so again, it existed in Nun, because Nun again comes from all. So if you want to say when did it, you can't. There's no numerical number for the lower realm down here where we are. Even in ancient Egypt, that's lower than the higher realm. So it's not a date that you can put on it. And let me show you why. Because you can't just put a date on something like that, because we can't put a date on our birthday. No one can say when the black race or the Garu race was actually originated. Right? I'm going to show you why. Just find this for you. Okay, it's not that one. All right. So if you have Zamal, if you have Action Fact 108, which is the proof by way of partner bad YAANAN, right? You go to verse. I'll start at verse 597, just to get back to your question about gas. Because again, gas itself is the byproduct of natural ether energy. And that's always been here. So let's go to what the point that I'm trying to get to your answer. 597. You learn this by studying our explanations, examples, descriptions, definitions, identities, comparisons, geometric figures, diseases, and illustrations, as well as other explanatory examinations and investigations. 598. You don't believe me? Check it out. That's the best way to learn. 599. This is going to touch on why I say we can't put a timeline on us, much less those things that predate us. 599. Know and understand virtue, reality, 9 to the 9th power of 9. Able to trace their history of existence from their beginning to their ending, to trace their evils, talking about Khafre, BABAH, chaos, over the past 6,000 years to the present time. And to know, however, in the case of your own, talking about us, in the case of your own infinite, absolute, divine, natural nature, eternal space, eternal material, and eternal time. There was never, nor ever, any start or beginning to Nupu as related to time, the point or moment it began for you. You're older than the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? So when we say that, being that we predate that, how can we possibly accurately identify a starting point for the gas from which we even came from? So it would be impossible to say, oh, conscious gases started at noon, right, at such and such time, when we're older than numbers that we know on the planet, right? So when you talk about noon, that also ties into the darkness, which is peaceful, and the chaos that was birthed from light. So if you go through action fact number 10, Zahuti's vision, just to break down the different stages of existence and how it looks from the upper to the lower realms. So let's go here, and let me touch on. Again, this is Zahuti's vision, action fact number 10. All right. So now I'll start with verse. Let's start with verse 23. So the Master Teacher BABAH Zahuti is talking. He's speaking to Asar, who's having his vision. Because the very presence of Zahuti knocked Asar unconscious. And in that unconscious state, remember I said the level of conditions of consciousness? He was unconscious, meaning that he was conscious but on a sub-level. because physically he wasn't conscious, right? Watch. Verse 23. Zahudi was raised into the midst of this divine effulgence, and the universe of material things faded from his consciousness. 24. Presently, a great chaotic light descended and expanding swallowed up the dark. Everything was troubled. 25. All about Zahudi swirled Nunet and Nun, touching on your question, the primordial waters, which is a mysterious watery substance which gave forth a smoke-like vapor, ether, which is what you would call gas. The master teacher in the older doctrine said it was three, solid, liquid, and gas. He said gas was the English word, the closest we can get to define ether. But here, through right knowledge, he's talking it as ether. The smoke-like vapor, ether. 26. The air was filled with inarticulate moaning and sighing, meaning there was sound in this darkness, in this vapor, this ether, right? Which seemed to come from the dark and swallowed up the light, which Mazamar just spoke on. Because when you talk about light, it can't be the opposite of a thing that can swallow it. Light itself is only a point in time and space within the darkness, right? So now let's keep walking. So the air was filled with this inarticulate moaning and sighing, which seemed to come from the dark, swallowed up in the light. 27. Zahudi's mind, his consciousness, told him that the dark was the true form of the ether to soul, to spirit, to body, in the universe of Pa-Pa'ut, the all. Understand that part? So now that darkness was giving birth to what? The very soul, which slowed down to become the spirit, which slows down to become our body. So from that mysterious darkness, meaning we don't know where it started. So we can't say how the gases in ancient Egypt, when did it start, that consciousness. So let's keep walking. 28. And that swirling chaotic light, which engulfed it, represented material substance. 29. Then out of the imprisoned dark, a mysterious and holy word, Hu, came forth and took its place, becoming Hika, the magical power of energy, and Sia, personifying the principle of the mental, upon the smoking Nunet Nun waters. 30. This word Hu, the voice of the dark, rose out of the chaos as a great pillar. That and the ray and the air followed after it. So this is how all of these things started coming into physical personification. But there was a difference from where this started, which would be higher, from where it manifested, which would be lower. So we're going to find that out as we walk. Verse 31. But Pa-Pata Nun, the earth, and Pa-Maye, the water, remained unmoved below. Thus the waters of darkness were divided from the waters of chaos and the waters of darkness, formed the worlds above, that's the darkness, and the waters of chaos formed the worlds below, which would be light. 32. Pa-Pata Nun, the earth, and Pa-Maye, the water, next mingled, becoming inseparable, and the spiritual word Hu-He, which is called reason, moved upon their surface, causing endless movement, actions, and then reactions. So I'll stop right there, just giving you a description of how the things above can't be calculated down below. Because there was a time in existence that all of those things were there. All this consciousness, which came from all, as you just read. And then, from the chaotic light, did we start becoming conscious of what? Ourselves, of our surroundings. Those are the conditions of consciousness. And as we spiritually develop, we're able to stay up on the super conscious level. It means we can actually make contact with those higher realms and higher dimensions when what? Our patah, or our divine eye, opens and we see the world of what it is. Meaning we can be in the world of illusions, but have the ability to ascend to the plane where we see the world of reality. Right? So again, it would be difficult to say when that noon or those gases of noon became perceptible at what point in time. Because when we first hit the planet, we were one with all, so we didn't need to know. We just knew that it did. So it would be hard for us to say, oh, it started at XYZ time, because we predate numbers. Yes, moved out.
Yeah, you just touched on, I was just about to ask, could you elaborate on the superconscious again?
Yeah.
Now tie it into the subconscious mind.
Okay, so again, when we talk about the conditions of consciousness, those are another way to say it would be planes of consciousness or states of consciousness, right? So the superconscious means you're sped up. where you can see past the lower nutational rate of the physical plane. You're able to now peer into clearly and see with your patah, or your divine eye, the planes of existence that actually move faster. That's the super, because you're sped up super. And when you do that, you can think of things. And when you expound upon them, it sounds miraculous to the listener who does not have that ability. Then you have the regular consciousness. That's us. We're conscious. I know if I need to get off the stage, I have to step down. I know if I need to open the door, my brain, by way of my mind, through my receptors, tells me, oh, you move your hand and turn the knob. Then you have the subconscious level, which a lot of people think is lesser. It's not. The medium is regular consciousness. Subconsciousness means I'm aware when I go to the dream state. I'm aware of things when my body is actually inanimate at the moment, other than breathing and the gas is settling and the other releases within my body by way of the circadian rhythm. While I'm sleeping, guess what? I can actually interact with what's going on in the dream state subconsciously. Or some things like when they put, let me give you another example. Some things are put in music, in the tones of music, that speak to your subconscious. But if you are aware of your subconscious, you can hear that and refute the things that are negative to you or negative for you. So states of consciousness really means, are you aware of being aware? And if you're aware of your awareness, you'll see all the states clearly and you'll be able to move accordingly, right? So like when you're dreaming and you go to the dream state, you go to another realm, what have you, you're moving 9 steps slower than all the beings who exist on that state, right? So subconsciously, you're thinking the speed of light. So consciously in that dream state, you think with all your whole being that you can't go faster than the speed of light. But the beings on that other realm can go faster, which is why we can't escape them. You ever have a dream you're running and they're catching you? That's because your mind is trapped and locked in on the physical thing because we don't know how to release the powers of consciousness to either go up or down depending on the realm we find ourselves in consciously. You understand? I pray that makes some sense.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Any particular book on the super subconscious?
The one that I read that in was M Other in the Circle of Existence. I would check that one, and also M Other, the Circle of Existence, and the Secret of the Tones, Makuzet, which was the first question of class today about Makuzet, where Mazmar eloquently answered that. You can actually go into those, right? And then you go into some of the guidance from the masters, right? Read a couple of those. The mind's eye is another one as well, because the mind's eye means what does the mind see? So the mind's eye can actually create things that only you see. As a matter of fact, let's touch on this one. Action fact number 29, which is reflection and projection, and show you how the conscious mind or the mind can actually make things that are not there. That's how powerful the mind's eye is. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Okay, all right, I'm going to read a couple of verses before, because the way the master teacher teaches us as his students, he's going to give you some pre-information, and then on to the affirmation or after, so you can get the point. So some people, they ask us questions as student teachers about one verse, and what we do out of respect is, hey, let me go a couple of verses ahead and then read a couple of verses after, because you get a complete comprehension of what the master teacher's given us. So the master teacher, Bobby, he teaches us like this. Verse number 2. I'll start with 1. Verse number 1. Lehe amtkum eye munsaru kararu empanataru munwapuze khawun wachut nunya. For you all, my helpers, children of the overseers, Nuwapians, it's our time. That's what ze khawun wachut nunya. It's our time. Verse 2. You are khatat, body, and you are ka'ah, spirit, solid and gas. 3. You originated as natural, a chaf ether, as chamemus, blackness, to chamem, black. Blackness would be the higher realms. Black would be what you see here, the lower realms. Chamemnus to chamem, right? 4. In the form of reason, you are the creative energy throughout fataral fatar, natural nature, in its entirety. And the word Etherian was originated from the root word ether and or burning solvent of fatar, nature. 5. Making you, Nagaranadu, Negroids, Mukhmatu, Egyptians, and as such, you as Hamemnus, blackness, are endless in Fasa, space, Madad, material, and Wachut, time. Let me stop right there. Right there, the master teacher is telling us what we read also in this book. So, verse 5 out of Reflection and Projection, making you, Nagaru, Negroids, Mukmatu, Egyptians, and as such, you are Hamemnus, blackness, are endless in space, material, and time. Cross-reference actual fact number 108, the proof by way of Parnabad YAANAN, verse 599. And to know, however, in the case of your own infinite, which would match endless, absolute, divine, endless in what? Space and time. Absolute, divine, material, natural nature, eternal space, that's endless, eternal material, and eternal time. Right there, same thing, they match up, right? Meaning that there's never a start or beginning to loop. So now, you are endless in space, material, and time. 6, in all directions, supreme balancement, Chamem Sha'ads, or black magic. 7, eternity and infinity are other ways to say the same of you. Always was, always will be, as Muntaru, ones who oversee, your brothers, keepers. 8, undoubtedly, Nashat, energy and motion, is the active ingredient of Tasharat, emotions and material. Let's go back when we keep walking to what we were talking about, how the mind works. Watch. Verse 9. Muwapu, Muwapians, it's that Tashkorat, emotions, which cause imaginary and ecstasy, which affect the mind, as well as creation and destruction. So by way of the mind, you can either create something or destroy something, internally or externally, right? Okay, so now, as well as creation and destruction, that I do it birth and Mawat death. 10, yet, Nashat energy, especially in the form of spirit beings, can be very deceitful if not understood by you. So if you don't understand these spirit beings on a subconscious level, they can be very deceitful. And then it rises to the consciousness that you call a thought, and you act on that if you're not aware of them. Now, verse 11. Many times a person sees or thinks they see a person or thing in a vision, te'at, ghost, shadow, or orb, while they dream. 12. Or see a specter, one who appears, while they are wide awake. So now you have the subconscious vision of it and the wide awake, the conscious vision. You actually see that with Ayantui eyes open. It can be what is being viewed is right inside them. 13, and experience a takus, reflection, inside outward, tabruz, projection. 14, although it may appear to be outside or projected outward or seem to originate outside their akal mind on its own. 15, the ka'a spirit or ka'a'u spirits within are doing the work of deception. So I'm saying, by us being aware of the conditions of consciousness, we're able to perceive these things. If the mind, not controlled or in check or monitored, or you actually have, you're the one that's driving the mind, any of those things can happen in any one of the states of condition or consciousness. So it's very important to be aware that we can oscillate, go up and down between those 3 stages. But the root meaning behind that is to be aware of awareness. If you're moving like that, you can't be deceived by your 30 spirits, by external 30 spirits, which may come into you by anybody you come in contact with. They can infect you mentally. And because it's coming from inside, you're thinking it's you, and it's a thought.
We're being aware of, let's say, the positive and negative of the thought?
Right.
Okay.
You have to. Because if we're living by natural nature, you recognize things that are unnatural. Right. You even surpass saying agreeable or disagreeable. You surpass saying good or evil. You're simply saying natural or unnatural to my nature. And if you're aware of your own natural nature, your spirits or your relatives that have not progressed while they were here physically, you can tell if they are for or against the natural nature. And if you're aware of that, you can control them. As Mother Mall said earlier, you bind them, and the ones that are beneficial, you rock with them. The ones that are not, you just bring them along so that they can develop as you develop. Right? And that will actually help them to burn out the things that are trapping them in that state of disagreeableness, as it may be described on this side of Heidegger. All right? I pray that answered the question. All right. We have any more questions?
Yeah, C. Newark, he said, did consciousness predate Batar?
Yes. Yes, consciousness predates any person. However, Ptah had the majestic assignment to be the utterance of who? The creative force of will. And with his triad, which would be Huki, Hika, and Sia, he does the work on this side, which is why we acknowledge or affirm Ptah before we begin our chants, right? Because he's the one that was assigned to be the voice of this creative force of will. So consciousness did predate Ptah because he had to be given consciousness to do his work. All right, I pray that address that question.
Dale Evans.
Rayay, Mukdatat, Rayay.
If one turns inside out and outside in at that point,
Right.
one would now be in the etheric state. Would one be able to ascend through the planes and enter the wormhole?
Okay, that's a good question. Mukdatat. What happens is when we turn ourselves inside out, that's exactly what we're doing. We're actually turning an inner being so that will be how we're living, which is called living by way of the soul. And if you're living by way of the soul, you are a perfect being at that point. You're actually so elevated that when you do transition, which means moving from one state to another, as you all know, when you do transition, you will be able to ascend the planes a lot more quicker and easily, more seamlessly, because you've already eradicated the majority, if not all, of the things that will keep us trapped as we have to pass through the planes and learn the rules of each. You have already begun to be that. To be that type of a being, Mukdatat. So yeah, once you turn yourself inside out and you actively live that, you're actually emitting the energy of a soul. That's actually just navigating the body instead of riding along with the body because you're living by something less than that high divine essence of ourselves. So yes, if you turn yourself inside out, that makes you able to even turn yourself into a craft, energy-wise, to go ahead through these other planes. So when you transition, you don't have a heavy body, which is the material self, it'll be a lot easier. A lot easier to ascend. Absolutely. I pray that answered the question.
Olamade
Yes.
said, but darkness is the secret hiding place of the Most High, right?
It's not a secret. As we just read, it's just mysterious, right? But when you learn from whence the source comes from, why it's not a hiding place. It's only hidden to those who have been programmed to see that as a bad place. Because if you're looking at something and someone's telling you this is a bad thing, this is evil, this is that, you no longer look toward it. So of course anything in the darkness will be perceived as hidden from you or that person who thinks like that. When you become one with all, that state of wahuness, darkness is the comfort that you wish to come to. Just like water, it's always going back home. We would be that water, that sense of water going back home to the pure state from which we came, right? Look at it like this, family. When we say darkness, was there light in the raham or womb of our Mudatat, of our mothers? Total darkness. And isn't that the most comfortable place you could be? How so? When you felt so comfortable that you was just growing and forming and you was just chilling. It wasn't until you came out into the light and got abused, slapped to see if you were conscious or not, that you felt the chaos of light. Because as a small being coming forth from your mother into this bright light when it was dark for 9 months minimum, right? Once you came into this light and the first thing you met was someone pulling on you, then tapping you, and then you saw or heard all these different foreign sounds, that sent your whole body into a state of shock or chaos. So no, the darkness is a place of what we call, as we just read, supreme balancement. Within that supreme balancement, there is supreme intelligence. We know that the intelligence was there because it had sound right reasoning to say turn on the light. So it's not a hiding place. It is a place that exists. Darkness is not hidden from us now. Some of us like to think, okay, it's daytime and then it becomes dark. But as Mazamal said, before we had these lights, darkness was always there. Always there. Even when you turn off the light, what does the light do? The energy that made the light exactly, or the shadows, step right back into that. Comfortably, because it's going back from whence it came. Because it takes the energy to make the light. When you turn the light off, it resides right back into the darkness. So it's always there. It's in here. See if I can find that. Absolute. That's absolute. There. See if I can find it. These voice image. It's hidden. Right here. Okay, if you have Action Fact series number 25, which is called Natural Ether Energy, right? So right here, I just read this one verse, or two verses. Verse 46, the master teacher YAANAN, he teaches us like this. Note, all the Nawar light in the room is always connected to its original source. 47, if not, once you switch off the light, the light will remain in the room. 48, the same with the Mishma sun. There's no such thing as Garut, night, only shadow. As your planet moves and the placement of your sun changes, right? So now, what happens is when you turn off the light, on verse 45, this is called Master Secrets or Kadash Act, right? This is BABAH. He says, secrets are seen in the visible word, the way Nawar, fire, and Katat al-Nawar, physical light, disappeared. A word that only means go away, disappears. So the light disappears into its space when contacted by antimatter, a matter agent of the power of absolute space. What that means is when you turn off the light, it goes back into the space that's not physically seen with the eyes. So darkness is not hidden at all. It's ever present. We disguise it by way of light, pretending that it's not there. It's always there. How do you know? Turn off the light. And there it is. All right? So I pray that address your questions. It's definitely not hidden. It's just some people ignore it by way of programming. That other than a chip that has us not looking toward the darkness as the place of serenity where all things came from. I pray that address the question.
Wadu.
Wadu Mukdal. Please travel safe, all right?
Okay.
All right, see you next time.
Okay.
All right? You have any other?
Yeah, Olamide said, why is the price? I think he wants to say Prince of Darkness on a separate pole from the Most High.
Because it's not the same, right? If you wanted to give a comparison of polarity, you wouldn't say Prince of Darkness, because the Prince of Darkness is still ruled by something where the Most High would not be. So they can't be the same. Again, the only way you would look at the same pole, if to use the terminology, of course we're trapped by English, but we'll say Most High, and his opposite would be Most Low. That's not even the Prince of Darkness. He's not the most low. He can't go as low as the most low. You follow that? So yeah, he can never be on it. He's just a child compared to what the most low would do in terms of even deceitfulness. He's just a child that may inherit the title. Again, these are not names. These are just titles. And then there's certain things that would happen to pick or select who would be termed as the most this or the most that. But the fact that we put the in front of it means there's something more powerful. Because what's more powerful than that doesn't have a present participle of the. It'll just be what it is. Or what is. I'm not even going to say it. Because it gives it a limitation. It'll be what is. Right? Now, I pray that helps.
Question from Lapakis King Portal.
Yes.
So Robert Musa.
Wrong back.
My question is this. How does one maintain control of their own spirit during the state of astral projection?
Okay, again, that's a good question. You can contain your own spirit by being conscious of the state which your spirit is going into, and also being aware of your spirit. If you know it's your spirit and you get to these other realms or whatever you may be doing astral projecting, how does it look like? What does it look like to you? We can't say that, but how does it look like to you? And if you're aware that it is you, you're already in control of the spirit. Now, what we're talking about losing control, if I can extend the conversation, the only way you would lose control is if you take your spirit, or your spirit astral, by way of the stars, projects to another plane of existence, another state of existence that's faster than what you project you can go. Then you will be controlling your spirit. You just can't control the environment that the spirit is in. That's where the loss of control happens. But the spirit itself, you can control that, because the spirit is likened unto the personality. And when you hear personality, it means your spirit is what's personal to you. You can never lose the spirit unless you lose your mind. But the brain is constructed in such a way that insanity will not occur unless it's supposed to happen. It is a defense made by those who made us, which is divine intelligence, divine design, that we have mechanisms that prevent us from insanity. So if you're aware of the spirit and all the things that are taking place when you astral project, you're still in control of it. Again, you just can't control that realm because you don't have not you personally, but us. You may not have a spiritual master or spiritual guide that lets us know what to expect when we get to these other places. That's why it's very important to develop yourself as a spiritual being, as a soul, and as a body. You learn to master all those concepts that are you. Those are you. That's your reality. Then you'll know how to deal better by way of the guidance of a spiritual master when you get to these other planes. What to do when you astral project. More importantly, when we talk about astral projecting and controlling our spirits, what you want to really control, what will benefit you as an individual being, is how to get back. Not what you're doing while you're there. Because remember, when you get there, this is no longer here. The minute you step through to this other plane, this picture of our master teacher, he's no longer behind me. Because that realm has a separate nutational rate different from the planet. So it's already moving at a fast rate. So when I go to turn around and he's not there, and then I go into shock. Why am I going into shock? Why do I feel fear? Because I'm conscious of where I'm at. So you're still in control of your spirit. It's just the environment that you won't have control of if you don't know how to adjust your nutational rate to fit the realm that you're on. You'll be literally, technically, out of place, with no place to get back. So it's more important to learn how to return. That's given by sacred orders. That's given by the guidance of the spiritual master. That's not coming from Guru or anything like that. There's one master teacher for one race. For each race, there's a master teacher. And this is ours. And if he has not taught that to us, how dare we speak on it? But it's important that you do learn you're always conscious and aware. So I pray that answers the question, if that's what you were meaning when you say, control your spirit.
Facts.
Why do, Mukdal? All right, travel safely. That's what's in there. All right, we have another question?
Yeah.
Okay.
See Newark, he said, so Pa'ut and awareness then exist simultaneously? That's his first question.
No, Pa'ut is then awareness, right? Or say Pa'ut and consciousness. Because Pa'ut, that's it. Then all these other things came. Because Pa'ut saw fit to bring these things into existence, because he knew he's going to utilize the things that he brought into existence to help other things that were coming into existence after that. Right? So if you're trying to say, like, well, was Pa'ut conscious or aware? Pa'ut is. Anything you want to say, he already is. But for him for Pa'ut, right, to bring everything else into existence was still a construct of Pa'ut. And you got the sub-levels of it. The first thing Pa'ut brought into existence was not consciousness, it was Pa'ut. Right? From Pa'ut came Pa'ut. Then from Pa'ut came the mental reservoir. The mental reservoir now gives birth to consciousness as we perceive it to be. Until we learn to get to those higher planes and rub up against Pa'ut comfortably, we won't understand what that is. Right? But Pa'ut predates everything. There's nothing we can say came simultaneously with Pa'ut, because Pa'ut created Pa'ut, and then that is everything. So there's like, it's hard to express it in English, but there's states of existence that predates even consciousness, which would be Pa'ut.
He said,
that helps.
yeah, so Pa'ut and awareness stand exist simultaneously. And consciousness and awareness came about at a certain point, like light. So how did things manifest from all? Was it instinct without intellect?
Not at all. Again, within Pa'ut was the reasoning or the ability to create reason, right? So if you read in natural ether energy, which was created by Pa'ut, but when you read in natural ether energy, it predates reason. It predates reason, so it's not instinct. It was just moved or brought into existence by Pa'ut. It's not the same. Consciousness will still come after Pa'ut, and Pa'ut comes after Pa'ut, and we have no way to verbally or orally describe Pa'ut while we're still confined to the body. There's no way to put it in words. It's a certain point of intellect that we haven't reached yet to understand what's really happening in Pa'ut. So we have to actually ascend the planes ourselves to get through the mental reservoir. Then we can comprehend what Pa'ut is and what drove that. What drove that was Pa'ut. And Pa'ut can't be driven by anything else. Consciousness, instinct, intellect. And when we say, as you just said, where Pa'ut and then consciousness and awareness, right? It didn't come about by the way of light, because that was still taking place in supreme darkness. Light was the last of the things that came from that realm, dropping down as we read in Tahuti's vision, right? So no, even in the intellect and awareness, it's still born in darkness. It's still in darkness. It's not like compared to light. Light is a lesser thing because it's chaotic. There's order in darkness, which predates chaos. All right, I pray that answered the question. That's a good question, though. Any questions at the moment? All right. All right, I just want to read something out of the proof, but we're part of that YAANAN, and I'll read on verse 608. Master Teacher Baba YAANAN is teaching us about opposites and proportions. 608. And this actual fact is the cause of portioning out creations and destructions by your absolute nature. How you see things, how you feel things, how you interpret all that happens to you, by you, letting yourself react, be it to create or destruct, its balance of powers for better or worse. 609. Nuapu, Nuapians, you must learn you are a drop of water returning to the ocean that is perfection. Water is always returning to itself. There is no up nor down, nor here nor there. After think on this and you create. Think on this as you create the moment to do so. 610. Up starts from you. Down starts from you. There is where, then is both past and future. Yet you decide now. And right now, should I do this or that, now or later, which then became now to you, because you portion all things, as you decide between opposites such as space and matter, positive and negative, pleasure and pain, order and disorder. 6:11. Yet, day and night are not opposites. You were taught that lie. Light of the day always shines. You're just in a shadow for a period you decide to be at. And males and females are not opposites. They are in fact physically the same. For males grow out of female and certain parts extend more on her and on him. Yet they are the same. And your living and dying are not opposites. Both are the same. If you only put your mind to work on this as you portion out of existence a moment or longer. 6:12. So your very nature deals in alternations, excuse me. And alternations, kasud, meaning you decide to alternate, and you decide what is opposites to you, and alternate all around you, ultimately from the mind by your brain, from formless and vice versa. 6:13. You are magical and magnetic. That is, you do things that cannot be naturally duplicated by others. Only you, as you are unique. No one is exactly like you. You're the one unique God, your own equilibrium, and you use nature, which is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, by way of you. 6:14, I'll stop. When you were born, the world started. Before you, it did not exist to you. So in fact, as nature, you are oneness and uniqueness. All is I am. The all in and of all, forever and ever. So that should give us a little more insight into like this consciousness that's always there. It always was. And it didn't exist until you were born and became aware of it. So when you talk about Pa'ut, then Pa'ut, then the mental, all of that was there. But it didn't exist until you became aware of it. So for us to say, okay, was it there or did it predate or whatever? No, it was always there by way of Pa'ut, the originator of everything, known and unknown, perceived and not perceived, felt and not felt, seen and not seen, right? But Pa'ut started it all. And if he's the starter, if Pa'ut is the starter or originator of it all, then nothing would have been there with him that could be considered equal to Pa'ut. All right, I'll pray that up. All right, y'all. Y'all got some questions? Know what it is. It's already shadow over here. Appreciate you coming by. How you been, Jamal? You good?
Good.
Okay.
Man.
All right, that's what's up.
Pleasure being here.
It's a pleasure when you come. That's definitely. We all learning together, so it's definitely a pleasure.
Appreciate y'all educating the people.
For sure. That's our job, right? That's our job.
Question from Lapakis King Koru Finney.
Yes, Rob back.
So another question was
Tour.
when will the final hidden 2 seats, chakras of the long pre-perceived 7 seat chakras be revealed to us? Or will it remain hidden till the master is free?
All right. No, they're not, right? Didn't you talk about that?
There.
Yeah.
He wrote books. The 9 principles, he put a name there. It just has to be updated.
Okay. So yeah, there's a scroll out called the 9 principles that they were listed, and the words just had to be updated. Did you send that to me? I don't know if you sent it to me. I think you might have. So no, they're not. The master teacher has given us that already. There was something else. Who else? I saw that recently. I think Amun had posted that as well.
I seen your picture.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to get the picture and I'll read it for you. right? All right, so out of the 9 principles, you have, all right, the 7 as you know. 1 is carnal, protect, soul, emotional, lusting. 2nd is sacral or tihet, semen, ovum, reproducing. 3rd is navel, tect, liquids, life, nourishing. 4th is diaphragm, ab, equals solar plexus, heating. Then you have the heart, hyper, is blood, healing, curing. You have 6, throat, septum, or sehem, pardon me, mucus, protecting. You have nasal, shiru, breath, air, life, breathing. 8 is the brow, the mirror, spirit, intellect, thinking. And 9 would be the head or ether, mental or meditation. So we do know the 9, but they have to, the words will have to be updated into the current lahab. So they're actually there.
There's a question from Dale Evans.
Yes, Rahul back, Mukdal Tab.
Would one have to go through the wormhole in order to reach the planet from which you came?
Okay, so that would be involved in a build, which would be the Hindu build. Now, you would have to go through the wormhole if you're taking physically, meaning you get on the craft, you have your seat that's assigned to you, you are the perfect weight, the craft is not distorted by anybody's off frequency. Yes, you'll have to go through the wormhole to get to the other side of the sun, which will be one of the first stops to the parallel world called Clarion. So you will have to go through the wormhole. I want to find an update for you. Let me see. All right, so I'm going to read what the Hindu bill was set. It was different parts, but this goes back as far as 2008. So, the Master Teacher BABAH says, shams are called Hindu or Hinuat. Transport crafts are called Binu. All right? BABAH had to issue this affirmation in pieces so that Patuta, Pep, couldn't find it. Now, yeah. Firstly, about the Hinuat, we will be scared when we see them, or scared of how real it truly is. You cannot travel with clothing on, so you will be asked to strip off your clothes. The love you have for someone can hold you here. If you have love in your heart for your mate, you could throw off the Hinu. You can have compassion, but be careful of love. Love kills. You cannot separate from your mate. If you have children together, you are joined for life until you gain your independence. If you exchange fluids with your mate, you are one for a time. If you have children together, you are one forever. You may not be on the same Hinu as your mate. Hinuat move in circular motion at the speed of light. It is important to clean yourself inside and out. You must be a certain height and weight in order to fit in your designated seat on Pa Hinuat. Food will be provided intravenously, but you must burn out desires. Even a simple craving can keep you and others on your Hinu from going through that vortex that you mentioned. But here the Master Teacher is actually identifying it as even a simple craving can keep you and others on your Hinu from going through the black hole, Nun. Each ship has a specific amount of food for a certain amount of beings. If your hunger pains throw the ship off path, the only way to get back is if a being with your same zero-time reference comes through. You will be seated in a circle, and you'll be protected from the G-forces of traveling at light speed. You will be in cryo sleep, not conscious of your emotions. Not that you're not conscious, you're not conscious of your emotions. Doc will not be on any Hinu with us. He has to let the Hinuat know where we are through his tones. And let's see if anything else talks about that. Your hinu has to be a specific weight and must be at noon NUN, that state of primordial waters, at a specific time. If it's off by a nanometer, it will throw everything off. It won't make it if it's too heavy or too light. The watchers are watching you and have been watching all along. You have to learn to control your emotions and desires. Extremely important not to have emotions at noon. Remember, noon has been referred to as the vortex or a black hole. So just when I say that, you think of that Mukdal tab, right? So again, I'm gonna say that last sentence. It's extremely important not to have emotions at noon. When you pass through noon, the pressure compacts you into a crystal. You are carbon beings. You are the jewels that they came for. You are the crystal. That's when Baba says, jewels of my divine eyes. He's talking about that. You crystallize during noon. When light hits you, you become etheric. You don't shed all elements. You become compressed carbon. Noon is in between the tick and the tock. Time does not exist there. Only now exists. This is where DNA explosions take place literally. That is why they need us, because we are the crystals. When you get on the other side, you become light or etheric being. That's true emotions, E equal motions, energy in motion. Mind your mind for the jewels of your soul. Let's see if you have anything else. Yep, 108 elements have to be shed by you. You cannot have metal in your body at noon. Iron is okay because you shed it. Zinc makes a male and iron makes a female. If you have an artificial implant, you will be preserved in an incubator. People who have passed on will be on the hinu if they are one of the 144,000. Children under age 7 make it automatically. From age 7 and up, you're responsible. Good or bad doesn't count when it comes to time to sit in the seat. Either you will fit in it or you won't. How it works is you'll be walking in a line, stripped of your clothing, will sit in the seat, and either you will fit or not. No explanations. You won't know if you fit in the seat until that day. There will be 3 pickups. You here, well, there'll be 3 pickups. You here, meaning here. The ultraviolet you on Clarion, and the etheric you. All 3 make up the divine you. You must be balanced with the ultraviolet you on Clarion. All right? So yes, it does, again, change to a circular shape. When Leo is in front of Cancer, then we know it's travel time. The first stop is Mars to change heme from a circular shape 1 to an oblong shape Menjet. The last stop is Canis Major at the Sirius constellation. All right, so that does answer the question. We will be going through a vortex or a whole black hole, which is called Noon. But you have to be balanced in order to exist through that. There's another part of the bill which I don't have in front of me, but it is talking about what will happen if you're not preserved correctly, if you're not in the right balancement, like your skin can shed, like peeling of an orange or whatever. So, but if you turn yourself inside out and you make it to the seat, you've already controlled your emotions. They're going to put you in a subconscious state that is devoid of emotions, so you're not flashing, having those emotional outbursts. Even if it's mentally, it can throw off the frequency of the craft. So the purpose is for them to make these stops uninhibited by us. That's why we say in class, the math teacher said as well, the only thing that can stop you is you, either physically or not turning yourself inside out, or the way you think mentally, or any other infections you've allowed to consume during your life here without trying to develop and eradicate those things that will prevent you from becoming that person or being that you should be. So I pray that actually answered the question. That Hindu build is in a lot of different places. All right, you got any other questions? Okay.
Senior, are you familiar with the double slit experiment? If so, if not, that's cool. If so, would you say that the experiment proved that consciousness affects reality by observation of the particles?
Okay, that's the one where you say when you're looking at something, it doesn't move, and then when you're not looking, it does move. Yeah. So exactly, and that's also letting us know that the things we're looking at, even microscopically or not, still have consciousness. So we can't be walking around thinking we're the only ones that have consciousness. There are things that are smaller than us, especially on the etheric side, that have a higher state of consciousness because they have less material to deal with. So yeah, you're correct. Yep. I'm not as articulate in that particular section. Khafre, he can build on that, a little more. But I do understand the concept with that particular project and experiment. All right, we have any other questions at the moment? Okay, cool. Looking for the awareness build. Alright, so if anyone has the 9 scroll by BABAH YAANAN, there's a section in there on page 92 called Khafre, which is conscience, like have a conscience, right? So there's 9 principles or points of this conscience. The first one is Pa Khafre M Muntaru, the conscience of overseers. The second one is Pa Khafre M Muslafu, the conscience of ancestors. The third one is Pa Khafre M Nafash, conscience of self. 4 is Pa Khafre M Mahat, the conscience of surroundings. 5 is Pa Khafre M Yaharu, conscience of others. 6 is Pa Khafre M Shalel Fatar, conscience of nature. 7 is Pa Khafre M Shalel Naqad, conscience of health. The 8th is Pa Khafre M Shalel Hayat, conscience of life. And the 9th is Pa Khafre M Shalel Mawat, conscience of death. If you have conscience of these 9 things and you're developing them, overstaying them, becoming aware of them, then when your transition happens, there's less for you to be unaware of. There's less for you to be introduced to for the first time. Because when you do cross over, you transition, you're going to begin learning all there is to know. But we have in our midst an authority, a deity in flesh, who teaches about the spiritual world while yet we're in the physical world. So it is incumbent upon us, as our Mukdal Dale Evans said, to turn ourselves inside out. That should be your only goal, not to have the best outfit, to take the best pictures as a Sabian. It's not even about that, right? You should wear it because it's part of our culture, as Muslim was talking about. The only way to keep a culture alive is to live the culture. Set that up for these children, for our Karadu. Why not? Why not give them something so they could be more perfected state at a younger age than even us are now? That's the goal. You set the culture up. They have something that they're proud to be a part of. Not proud as pride as ego, but something they can cling on to with a love of self and kind. Unquestionable. So when they do go out into the world and mingle amongst others, they don't feel any type of self-consciousness or lack of value within themselves. That's our job. And when we're doing that, we're ensuring them that they have a safe space to grow properly and feel comfortable of who they are. Because we are, as Sabians, Nuwapians, Nubian Nation, whatever title, under the tutelage of our master teacher, BABAH YAANAN. If you feel confident in that, why not pass that confidence on? Make it a part of your DNA. That's what this doctrine does. It's not just to be read, it's to be felt. And when you feel it on a cellular level, guess what? You pass that on to the children. You pass it on to them. Be good examples for them. Because who's watching us more than our children? Right? They see what we do, whether they say it or not. Those are the eyes and the ears upon authority. They just got here. So they're watching you. You know what I mean? And so if you're not being right, being an upright man, being an upright woman, you're doing a disservice not to yourself, because all that's being recorded on your narad or your disc, but you're doing a disservice to the younger ones that's coming after us. We have to be the best for them. And when we do that, guess what? In doing that, you lose that sense of I-ness, because now you're doing it for someone other than yourself, which means you see all of us as one. That's that 100. That's the highest achievement we can obtain before we get that true reward, which would be what? Our barotheric glands, our right to visit home, to go back home, be worthy to get on craft, should it be physically, or to be worthy to ascend the planes, be it spiritually, without the body. All right, I pray we all understand that and strive to do our best to be that. Because no one is better than the other one if we're all the same. We just have different cartons, but this one soul that permeates all of us is the same. It is the same. All right, you have any other questions? No, nothing? I'll back some more. All right, I'll just read another part of the Hindu bill. For each of you will be asked in Nuwapic questions, each of his or her actions, words, deeds. None will be able to speak on your behalf, save one of us be able to speak on your behalf. Amun Nub Re'akpata alone. Amanubi Rayay Akpata has spoken the three tones. Atum, Atum, Amun, in one, as Anun. There goes that word Nun again, Anun. By his voice as YAANAN. You will not be able to say you did not hear it. You will not be able to say your eyes did not behold him. You will not be able to say your hands did not get to touch him. You all recognize the tone of us in his voice. It is that tone which will bring the three suns as stars into alignment, so that Hinuat will be able to come close enough to lift the few 50 beings per Hinu. Only those few who earned the trip back through Wu-Sabat onto Sa'a, through Khafre up to Hutudet into Ilium, then to port on risk. Only a few going that way. Amunu Ra'akata must give each of you first your tone as a secret name to align your center, solar sun, to your true eye. That your true being will find its place on its own seat by receiving your crown of light. For you and only you, it's in tune and aligned to each being's zero-time reference. Your throne or seat can only be sat in by you and you alone, none other. Not your consort, not your siblings, not your father, not your mother, nor those you wish to be seated near. To each his own. In fact, ones you love for their own reasons may not have their name on that list kept and recorded over time by the Hutu. They may deceive and fool you. However, they cannot deceive or fool us. Amunu Re'akpata is of us sent to you. Amunu Rayay Akapata acted as many of the sons of Ptah and Neith, be he in the form of the Huti, or Amun, or Min, or Imhotep, or Apis, or Sokar, or Sobek. Amun Nub Re'akpata is the one who will enter Pa Renat, or your name, in the book. Amun Nub Re'akpata will soon come down off the Ankh. This is back in 2008. By the power of Sakmet and Hathar, the daughters of Neith, by their Hika, in order to raise Rayay Akatwi, son of the far way of Nun, raising out of the east, Atum Ray in the west, Amun Ray, the two horizons to complete the 24,000-year journey. All right, so there's a lot going on right there. So again, he asked this. Someone asked this. This is Baba answering. You must be transformed. You must be cleaned inside out and outside in. Your brown rust color must be returned to green. All metals must be cleaned from your blood. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? For you all will not get another chance if you miss this alignment. It will not come again before 24,000 years. This is the time. You may ask, and what is time? Time is what? No, time is just pa-ut. Not from here to there or from there to here. All time is right now, not then, not when, just now. Can't you all see him for who and what he is now, and was there then, will be there when, and is right now? So, there we have it. There we have it. Oh, was it a long travel tomorrow?
Sure.
Oh, man.
Me.
All right, yeah, you made it. You here for sure. I don't know how long we're gonna be here, but you here. You definitely here. All right. Any other questions? Nothing. All right. Alright, so again, if y'all have Action Fact 108, the proof, by way of BABAH, YAANAN. This is one of the many dynamic scrolls, but this one touches on a lot of subjects. I'll read this, hopefully we have questions. If not, we have to end class, but I'll read something to see that.
I got a question.
Okay.
It's from Sherry.
Hey, Sherry, round back.
What if someone is on a medicine
Right.
or life support at the time of ascension?
Mhm.
Are they able to guide themselves through the process of ascension?
Okay, that's a good question. Now, if a person is on medicine or some type of machine, as they near their transition, they still have consciousness. We talked about that a little earlier. They still have these conditions of consciousness. And once the body, right, ceases to inhale and exhale, all of the inner being are now free. They're now free from that law of inhale and exhale. So will they be able to guide themselves through the transition? They will become aware in most times that they have transition, especially someone who's like in a medical facility. So they know that they're in a state of transition, right? Which is also in this scroll here. Again, the proof by way of BABAH, YAANAN. And I'll see if I can find it. But yes, that person will be. Before I look for it here, I want to just touch on the cycles of life and death. All right, that's another one of our master secrets. Because when we're talking about when a person, excuse me, is in the midst of their transition, they're doing two things, which are not opposite. We just read earlier, living and dying for the purpose of our conversation today. Living and dying are the same. So a person can be doing both at the same time. You're living, but you're in hospital, so you're actually dying and living at the same time. That is possible. But in most cases, well, in all cases, the mind is still there. It's still conscious. It's the physical body that's coming to an end, right? So when that does occur, then I'll refer you to, again, the cycles of life and death. So, let me see. All right, so I'm just going to talk about how the differences between the spiritual self and the physical self. There's also another scroll called the spiritual you after the physical you dies. And that also delves into the activity of the spirit being after the physical being ceases to be. So, verse 240, the master teacher BABAH YAANAN, he says, your BABAH soul does not need physical nor light to see. Only in this physical world you need eyes to see. Verse 241. Your etheric being as nine ether is a perfect being. And once you cross over, you begin learning all there is to Rakuk, know. 242. You're able to travel through Wakut time and space, in and out of other Hajamat dimensions, and meet all of your Salafu ancestors, Sadaku friends, and loved ones. Become a helper who guides your unborn relatives beyond time and space, time and place, 243. You become a master or Nabad of both heaven and earth, of both realms, 360 of this realm, the physical, and 360 degrees of the spiritual realm. That's 720 degrees, making you a deity, a divine being, as I, Panabab, YAANAN. So to address your question, it really doesn't matter in terms of if the person's on medicine or they're on machines that are sustaining their life, right? What will determine the speed or the rate of time that will elapse as their spiritual self goes through the different planes or spiritual orientation? What determines that is what they learned while they were physical. Not that so much the end, but what did they do prior towards that end? So if you have a person who was, doing their best in life and was overall a good person, as we would describe it here on the planet, if they were generally a good person, then they've already mastered a lot of the things that were purposely here for the last 6,000 years to distract us. So rather they became sick, on medicine, whatever, the spirit and the soul are not generally affected adversely by that, but how much progress did they make amongst the spiritual development? How far did they get in that? That's going to determine how they transition and where they go and how long they stay at where they at in the first place. As we mentioned earlier in class, the very first or next place would be the plane of force. And the plane of force is pretty much identical to the physical plane, but it's like watching a 3D TV in low definition. When you go to the plane force, you have 100 high def. So everything is more pronounced on that realm. So whatever you were addicted to or had an attraction to here that you didn't overcome, it is more pronounced there, right? Like certain foods or certain type of things or certain clothing or whatever it may have been, it'd be more enhanced there. So if you had a favorite shirt or favorite color and you go to the plane of force, it's identical to this plane. And you'll see that favorite shirt or favorite color more enhanced, and it'll attract you more. You have to master the rules of the plane of force and leave all of that behind. So again, the sickness does play a part because it does shorten a person's life, but the spiritual side of them is still going to be active. The consciousness is still going to be active. Even if it's not perceivable to us, it's still active to them. So that what determines how fast that person gets to where they need to be is what they've learned prior to becoming ill and actually transitioning. All right? Because you can't do both at the same time. You can't be living and dying at the same time. But the mind is, most times, is not affected by the circumstance of the physical body. It pretty much witnesses it. It's watching that. And when you learn how to watch the mind, you will actually experience both living and dying and comprehend them both. Preparing yourself for what's to come next. That would be the best, outcome, the quickest outcome for that person. I pray that address your question, Sherry. All right, so past that yet. Question?
No.
Okay.
Right
back.
I overheard, I was in transition getting here, but I heard about the update of 2008 with the
Hindu?
and your mate.
Right.
What can definitely prevent one from making the transition with, what can a mate do to make you miss your
Well, I get where you get that. The mate can't is what you allow the mate to do that will stop you. Right? Because as we read through the update, sure, you had compassion. That's your mate. You found something in her or him that you wanted to spend time with of your life, if not your whole life with. However, when you know your natural nature, if your mate or loved one is doing anything that's adverse to that, and you agree to it because you love them, as opposed to having compassion for being with them, you deter your own fate. They didn't do it because you didn't have to accept it. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be very mindful that, and then she, because it's men, but she should do the same for you. As your mate, if you're doing something that's adverse to her development, she has to have that strength within to not allow you to control her destiny. That's what happens when you love someone to the point where you lose yourself. You give up your whole self to their whims, their ways, their wants, and finally, and most tragic, their desires. They have desires for you. And they say, you can't be you. I want you to be the you that I want. And if you succumb to that, then yeah, that can throw you off. You follow that?
Tell that.
All right. Attack a dead fool. Okay. All right. I'm going to read just again. We never left this book. Been in the proof away part of the bad. All right. So here the master teacher is talking about time, space, all different types of existence. Nawah, N-A-W-A-H, Nawah, kind of existence. So he's teaching us here. Let's go to verse 399. This again was not by chance or blind faith. This was intelligent design by intelligent designers. 400. As you read, the octaves, 8 beings for octaves of sound, the secret 8, all based on the circle of order. And this means that ether is liquid source, gas source, life source. 401. Natural ether, universe ether, exists in degrees or 360 degrees of life and 360 degrees of death. So you have 360 degrees cycle of lives, 360 degrees cycles of deaths, 720 degrees of spiritual and physical, which we just read in the cycles of life and death. Mastering that makes you a master or a deity. 402. 9 ether and 6 ether. 9 ether is positive ether and 6 ether is negative ether. 403. 9 ether and 6 ether are opposites in absolute nature, and they alternate existing. So they're still those you call opposites, but the same thing because it's ether, different degrees of ether, same pole, right? They both can exist at the same time, such as living and dying of a person who is terminally ill with a disease. In this case, both living and dying at the same time. So also, positive and negative can be in a person at the same time. Each waits its turn to come forth, or a person who is sick and can die is then healed. 404. The positive 9 controls and supports the living, and the negative 6 supports and controls the dead, their dead, specters, ghosts, spirits, orbs. 405. A living being is dying scientifically when its life-giving chemicals are not sufficient enough to maintain the positive flow, or the vibrational khatat body becomes unclean, poisoned, out of sync, unbalanced. 406. Its ability to keep a positive flow of mental and physical fluids of etheric standards and qualities and values of what? Fataral, natural nature, and protect the being from physical death continuously, as in the case of scientific life. 407. So 9 ether is original true life of the scientifically living, linked by the etheric code, life to life. What is life to life? We hear that phrase, but what is life to life? We wear it. It's one of our symbols. life to life.
Right. Born,
The answer, right. Life to life. But what we say, without getting this in depth, we simply say life after life. Tweet, double resurrection. That's what this is. That is the etheric code, life to life. Now, 408. And 6 ether is the living dead and death of the scientifically with their etheric cord cut, like an umbilical cord, connecting a fetus navel to the placenta. In the same way, the etheric code is connecting the etheric being to the BABAH soul, to the Ka'ah spirit, to the Katat body. So like the link to the source of physical life, the mother, 409. So also, it's cut to separate the two, child from Modal Tat mother, physically. Also, once a person's etheric cord is cut, they're separated from the etheric realm of Nashat energy, which links them to the BABAH soul. They are on their own emotionally, no link to the oversoul. I'll stop right there. So that's how, again, we can have opposites, which is life, a living, and death and dying at the same time. And it can go either way because it waits either one of them, 9 ether or 6 ether or positive or negative, whatever we're going to turn it, waits its turn to come forth, right? So like many of us, right, may have been living a less than positive life before we embraced the doctrine. Mm-hmm. So we were the walking dead, either mentally or spiritually. And then because we embraced the non-ether essence of Wu-Sabat, right, Wu-Nuwap, the Nubian nation, we embraced that. And because we did, it started to repair our DNA. Then it repaired our spirits and activated the true self called the soul. So now we're no longer the mentally dead, the walking dead, the spiritually dead. We have healed ourselves and become the living scientifically because this is a spiritual science. You follow that? So based on that, it can go either way. But for example of our Zamal Tat Sherry, she gave it the example of someone that was on medication or on machines that was sustaining their life because there became an imbalance somewhere that caused the malady or the sickness of that person, be it diet, be it just living in this particular part of the world, wherever you may be. Things were going against the natural functions of the body, and it was no longer to sustain life in this proportion that it should be. But the question was, can the spirit, what will help it on its journey? As long as the etheric cord has not been cut, you're still attached to the oversoul, and that spirit can go on to become one with all. All right? It's when the etheric cord is cut, that links you to the soul, and then they're on their own emotionally. Those type of people are generally out of control emotionally, right? They're the ones you can't reason with, no matter how, whatever you try. Emotionally out of control. They have no way to contain even the information you're giving them on a rational level. They're going to react adversely in most cases because they lost their link. You know what I mean? And it can happen to any race. Don't think because you're Nagaru, you can't lose your link to the oversoul. Keep doing the things that are adverse to your natural nature, you get cut off too. It's an etheric cord, but it's also an etheric code, which ties into supreme mathematics, or what someone may identify as a matrix, but are different than what they put in the movies. The matrix is the mathematical properties that ties you to the higher self and the higher realms. You can't lose that by your behavior. You are what you consume, even if what you consume is just bad information. And you act on it because you accept it. You make a home for the disagreeable spirits to reside in you, in your incarnation. All right? Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, question from Sherry.
Yes, Sherry. I like that name.
Will we see our mates when we transition or just our family members?
Okay. Let's go back. That's a good question. Let's go back. I hope now, Sherry, I hope that you're not asking to see your mates so y'all can pick up on that argument. Let's don't argue. Like, yeah, I want to see you on the other side. But seriously, this is what happens. Once you transition, you begin to learn all there is to know. Watch this, Sherry. Verse 242. You're able to travel through time and space, in and out of other dimensions, meet all of your ancestors, all of your sadaku, your friends, and loved ones. and become a helper to guide your unborn relatives. So yeah, if your mate is one of your loved ones, you will meet all of them. You can still meet them. Now, I can't say to you when that would happen because you're in a different state as far as time calculations. Because if your mate transitioned before you, he may be further along in his spiritual orientation than you are. But if y'all were rocking equally, then yes, y'all will meet up a lot quicker in terms of time perception, right? But again, when you get to the other planes, time is, as we just read. It'll be that. So yeah, you'll actually see all of them. You'll be able to see him or her as well. Absolutely. Especially if y'all are linked by way of children, by way of the emotion of love and compassion for one another. Yes, you will. Hopefully that's a good thing. For the majority of us, that's a good thing. Any other questions? No? All right, I think I'm out of reads. You have anything, Jamal? No? All right. Well, with that, we're going to end today's class. If my Jamal could come up with me. Good class for sure. All right, appreciate y'all joining and hanging to the end. While you wash up to our Muisa online, we'll see you all at the next class. As for Solemne.